That's it, it's on?
Ready?
Ready.
My name is Jose Raggio, and I am the President of the Board of Elections for the calendar year 2014 and the Democratic Commissioner from Queens County. These are the hearings on challenges to designated petitions for state and local offices, as well as party positions to be contested in the September 9, 2014 primary election. This year we have a number of challenges, and we ask the cooperation and understanding of all present. This will enable us to move the matters along in an orderly fashion. I now ask that each commissioner and staff member present identify themselves or herself for the record. Starting with my left.
Good morning, Ron Castorino, Richmond County Republican.
Michael Rendino, Bronx County Republican.
Simon Schuman, Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Michael Michelle, Queens Republican.
Marie Costello, Richmond Democrat.
Pamela Perkins, Administrative Manager.
Valerie Vasquez, Director of Communications.
Anthony Andrulli, Deputy Chief Clerk, Staten Island. Matt Graves, Candidate Record Unit.
Tom Sadie, candidate record unit.
Michael Neglia, candidate record unit.
Michael Carrasino, candidate record.
Raphael Swino, Deputy General Counsel. John Mokomek, temporary legal secretary.
Michael Setti, legal.
Steve Richmond, general counsel.
Steve Dankberg, Counsel of
Kenneth Mulder, Counsel.
I want to remind all persons appearing before the commissioners at this hearing must fill out the notice of appearance form, which is available at the front counter. Each person must present the completed form for each specification or matter to our staff as they come up to the podium to speak. Only one speaker at a time. I want to remind all commissioners, board staff, attorneys, and members of the public that only one person should speak at any one time so that the audio system can accurately record the proceedings. Also, please speak directly into the microphone so that all present can be heard in this proceeding. I would ask that all present place their cell phones on vibrate or silent during the turn, or turn them off during the course of these proceedings. I want to also advise all present that this board is required by law to record how each commissioner votes on each matter. In the event that we are not unanimous in our vote on a given matter, I will ask that our council conduct a roll call of the commissioners for the record. I now call upon Steve Richmond, General Counsel to the board, to call the calendar for this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Commissioners, in accordance with your direction and the rules, please note that the calendars, both prima facie and specifications, have been posted earlier this morning for everyone's information.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, in accordance with your schedule last week, we will begin with Staten Island. First, with the prima facie calendar. We have one calendar from the Office of the General Counsel, one from CRU. We will begin with the Staten Island legal information calendar.
Is that in the brown?
In the brown folder, with the word Staten Island printed across it. It's a one-page sheet.
Thank you very much.
We also ask if anyone is here to appear on the prima facie matters, when your name is called, please stand up and line up at the podium. Commissioners, the two prima facie defects that the Office of the General Counsel identified is that for petition RH 95 for Conservative Party District Leader and Delegate in the 63rd Assembly District, candidate for District Leader Ronald Stewart, and for the Assembly, Delegate for the Judicial Convention, Rosemary Furno, the petition omits the zip code on the face of the petition.
Media appearances? Hearing none, I moved in the legal prima facie report. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any abstains or any opposition? The motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes the legal calendar. Mr. Graves and his staff will present to you the issues identified by the candidate records unit. I believe those will be in the blue, inside the larger blue folder.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Inside the blue folder, you have a beige folder, Liz Richmond with candidate and enrollment issues. Short list. There are three names. The first name is a Democratic alternate delegate in the 64th, Joanne Ulbrich. The candidate's registration does not exist for the name and address listed.
For the purposes of the call, we'll call all the cases up front without anybody appearance at the end of the council call.
The conservative, other two names are conservative, Ralph Bernhardt and Emily Coluccio.
Are there any appearances on any of those three matters?
Hearing none, I would move that we adopt the candidate enrollment prima facie calendar for Staten Island.
I'll second.
All All right. Any objections? Any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, calendar is so done.
Commissioner, that completes the prima facie calendar. The staff of the Island Office has prepared a report on specification or objection, which will be in the long manila folder given to you by Staten Island. And the commissioner will call the spec report. It is the Working Families Party, Richmond County, in the matter of the objection by Salvatore Monfort, Maria Law, Karen S. Chester Sayed, and Mary Teresa Riley to the petition of Gary Parcell, the candidate for the New York State Senate 24th State Senate District. The clerk's report, Commissioners, that 44 signatures were submitted to the candidate, 2 are invalid, 42 remain valid, 33 are required to qualify for the ballot. And referred to the board is subscribing witness statement carries a material false statement on pages 2, 6, 7, and 12. On pages 4, 10, and 11, officer administering oath fails to state office. And then forgeries are complained on various pages. And finally, the volume identification number is not stated on the spec. Are there any appearances?
Yes.
Please step up.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gary Parcell. I'm the candidate for the state senate in the 24th Senate District of Staten Island. And I'll be very brief about this. I just would like the clerk's report accepted as is.
All right, is there a motion? Is there a second?
I just have a question. What's the subscribing witness statement that carries a material false statement, whatever it is? I'm just curious, why is it on those but not on others? I'm sure there was one petition form done, and I don't understand why it would be on a few and not all.
Commissioner, the exact objection is subscribing witness alteration. C. McGuire v. Gamache, 5 New York 3rd, 444. Alteration of name of subscribing witness not dated or explained. And the clerk's found it not as stated.
Okay, well, the characterization that carries a material false statement is not necessarily accurate, but if that's what they found looking at it, then I'm happy with it.
Oh, no, page 2, Commissioners, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Page 2, the objection simply is, and they gave us their own spec sheet. Subscribing witness statement carries a material false statement with no, and a fraud allegation in that same objection, and there is nothing
Okay.
more substantive
Okay.
than that.
All right.
And that is all that's stated on that spec sheet.
That's fine, I just wanted to know what it was, that's all.
So it's an unspecified specific objection.
Okay.
The motion was made by Commissioner Bustelo. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Michelle. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? Opposed. Opposed, okay. No for the record, one abstention. Oh, one opposition, I'm sorry. Opposition.
Commissioner Castorino, right?
Yes.
So by a vote of 6 in favor, 1 opposed, the clerk's report relating to specs RH1, 2, 3, and 4 are adopted. The candidate will appear on the ballot.
Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. Thank you.
Just for the record, all copies of these clerk's reports were faxed within and timely to the candidate and the objector, correct?
Commissioners, that concludes the Staten Island calendar.
All those specs were for the same
The
candidate?
same candidate, 4 different objectives, identical specs with identical findings.
Thank you very much to Staten Island.
Thank you.
We express our appreciation to the great county of Staten Island on behalf of all the commissioners for the hard work done.
Thank you, sir.
The jewel of something.
Yeah.
Next one's on 1:30, right?
No. we have a hearing on the
Mike Ryan on
contract,
the
the $20 million contract. I know, that's gonna take less
Next
time
year,
than that dollar.
All right, so let's adjourn this meeting, recess this meeting and allow the finance committee to meet with Michael Ryan and Don Sandow if necessary.
Okay.
It's my understanding that the finance committee consists of Freddie Main and Ray Bustelo. However, any other commissioner is welcome to join.
Okay.
And you
Yeah,
want to adjourn at
and
what
as
time?
we want, maybe we'll just do it here.
What time will we be adjourning?
Commissioners, you have scheduled. Simon Schmidt, Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Michael Shaw, Queens Republican.
Julie Jack, Brooklyn Democrat, welcome everyone.
Can I have senior staff introduce themselves?
Nina Crispino, Director of Personnel.
Valerie Maxey, Director.
Joined by Michael Ryan, Executive Director. All right, you're looking at agenda number 1, the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Is there a motion to adopt the minutes? Seconded by Commissioner Michelle, we've adopted the minutes. Does anyone want to add anything to the agenda? I'm sorry, yes, all in favor for the minutes? Any abstain?
Mr. President, we had a committee meeting earlier this morning to review the terms of the ES&S contract. And based on the information provided, and there were a number of other commissioners present, we would recommend that we authorize the executive director to sign it on behalf of the commissioners. It calls for $20 million, and I think $300,000 possible allocation over the next 2 years for requirements under the ES&S contract. And just for public edification, it doesn't mean that we're going to spend $20 million. It just means that we have the ability to spend up to $20,300,000. And the commissioners have reviewed the terms in a relatively in-depth manner, and the committee finds it to be appropriate and good, and ultimately good for the board, good for the city, and good for the people of New York. So we would recommend it as a committee motion. So it doesn't need a second, but it needs a vote.
I would ask that the full board vote in favor, or what's the vote?
You just say all in favor.
All in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against or abstain? Motion carries. All right, there being no other business, that concludes the commissioners' meeting for today. We will reschedule at 1:30 for the continuation of the
For the Borough of the Bronx.
Borough of the Bronx hearings. Thank you. President. Good afternoon, my name is Jose Araujo. I am the President of the Board of Elections for the calendar year 2014, and Democratic Commissioner for Queens County. These are the hearings on challenges to designated petitions for state and local offices, as well as party positions to be contested in the September 9th, 2014 primary election. This year we have a number of challenges, and we ask the cooperation and understanding of all present. This will enable us to move matters along in an orderly fashion. I now ask that each commissioner and staff member present identify himself or herself for the record. Starting with my left.
Ron Cascarino, Richmond County Republican.
Michael Andino, the Bronx County Republican.
Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Michael Shaw, Queens Republican.
Julie Jack, Brooklyn Democrat, welcome everyone.
Marie Costello, Richmond Democrat.
Pamela Perkins, Administrative Manager.
Matt Graves, candidate, Rikers Unit. Anthony Jervis-Dole, Deputy Chief Clerk, Bronx County.
Marika Scott McFadden, Bronx Deputy Clerk.
Kenneth Luca, Council Committee, Stephen King.
The Richmond General Counsel.
Rafael Suda, Deputy General Counsel.
Michael Carcino, County Secretary.
Jack Monkland, temporary legal staff.
Michael Rossetti, Legal Editor.
Valerie Maxey, Director.
That's it? All right, I want to remind all persons appearing before the commissioners at this hearing must fill out the notice of appearance form, which is available at the front counter. Each person must present the completed form for each specification or matter to our staff as they come up to the podium to speak. I want to remind all commissioners, board staff, attorneys, and members of the public that only one person should speak at any time so that the audio system can accurately record the proceedings. Also, please speak directly to the microphone so that all present can be heard at this proceeding. I would ask that all present place their cell phones on vibrate or silent ring or turn them off during the course of these proceedings. I want to also advise all present that this board is required by law to record on how each commissioner votes on each matter. In the event that we are not unanimous in our vote on a given matter, I will ask that our council conduct a roll call vote of the commissioners for the record. I now call upon Steve Richmond, General Counsel, for the board to call the calendar for this hearing and confirm that the calendar is posted on the wall.
Commissioners, the calendar, the prima facie calendars prepared by the board staff here from the General Counsel's office and COU are posted on the wall, as is a calendar of the specifications of clerk's reports that you will hear, and counsel's reports that you will hear today. Commissioners, we're going to begin with the legal prima facie report, so it's inside your brown, Redwell, the folder marked the Bronx, and it's headed Legal Prima Facie Report. For those candidates or representatives of candidates, if you hear a matter called on the prima facie calendar that you want to be heard on, please immediately rise and come up to the podium before the commissioners act on the report. Commissioners, we'll begin with page 1. Member of the Assembly, Democratic Party, Shanine Kirby, petition Bronx 393. The petition does not specify the district the candidate is seeking to be designated in.
Any appearances
Shanine Kirby.
for the candidate?
I'm Shanine Kirby.
Okay.
Stanley Schwein for the objector,
You submitted your...
even though it's a prima facie matter.
Do you have notice of appearance?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kirby, do you have your notice of appearance?
Ms. Kirby, your petition that was submitted did not contain the district in which you're running for.
Do you wish to add anything?
No, I just wish to add that this was my very first time running, and I honestly didn't know I was supposed to put the 86 there, honestly. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything else like that. It is what it is. I forgot the 86 to put it there, and I hope that that doesn't change my chances of making a chance to do, you know, what I want to help to build in my community.
The objector, would you like to say something?
I would just thank the candidate for honesty, and we urge that the commission vote to support the findings of council.
As you know, you may not know this now, but the description of the office that you're running for is a material information that needs to be on the petition. We commend you on your petition process, and we hope that this does not discourage you from petitioning next time, but we have to move the clerk's, the legal prima facie report as it relates to you. Is there a second on that motion? All in favor? Anyone against or abstain? We adopt the legal prima facie report.
Candidate will not appear on the ballot. The next matter relates to petitions 365 and 366, Democratic Party, member of the Assembly, 77th AD, Carlton A. Curry is the candidate. Commissioners, the zip code on two volumes did not match. Attached as Exhibit 1 is a printer's letter, a sworn printer's letter from the firm that prepared the petition, saying that they made a typographical error and that the correct zip code on both petitions should be 10452. Which is a notice of the defective cover sheet was filed. An amended cover sheet conforming to claiming both volumes on 10452 has been submitted to Commissioners Committee Deferred Action pending your action on the printer's letter. But if you deem the printer's letter satisfactory and acceptable, the cover sheet should be deemed as well. Appearances?
Appearances?
Me? Hello, my name is Carlton Curry. Hello to the board of elections. You look at the cover. There was a typographical error by the printer.
We have the printer's affidavit,
Right.
so that speaks for itself.
Okay.
You submitted a notice of appearance?
Yes.
Yes? Does the objector have anything to add?
There were no objectives to my work. There was no objectives.
Stanley Schwein appearing in opposition to the candidate's articulation, but he's correct, I did not file objections based upon the failure to comply with the cover sheet requirements of the board.
Those specs was on my work as
You have
well.
received the printer's affidavit, correct?
Yeah, it was timely submitted in advance of the hearing in response to the prima facie defect notice, as well as the purported amended cover sheet curing the defect if the printer's letter is accepted, setting forth the zip code on all as correctly as 1045.
And it appears that the printer's letter does indicate that it was the Eris printer in making the information as opposed to some other source. Have you had an opportunity to see the printer's affidavit?
Yes, I have, and we make no statements.
I would move that we dismiss this from the prima facie calendar as the print, I believe that the printer's letter, the printer's affidavit satisfies the requirements. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against or abstain? Motion carries. The candidate will appear on the ballot.
Thank you very much.
You would amend the motion to approve the amended cover sheet on ballot?
Absolutely. So moved. All in favor? Aye. Any abstains or objections? Motion carries.
Candidate will appear on the ballot. Commissioners, for Democratic Party, 86th Assembly District, petition 455. Candidate's name is Felix Padone. The petition does not indicate the place of residence of the candidate. The petition does not identify the public office or party position the candidate is seeking to be designated in. Are there any appearances?
Is there any appearances? There being none, I would move the prima facie calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Motion carries.
The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Commissioners, the following series of candidates all failed to file a cover sheet. If you recall, last year, the Appellate Division, 2nd Department, in the case of Armwood v. McCloy, ruled that a failure to file a cover sheet is a fatal defect and is not curable. And in accordance with our discussions last year, we've made that known to all candidates, insisting that the Appellate Division was unambiguous in its finding. Each of the following candidates has failed to file a cover sheet.
Mr. Richmond, all candidates you would name, there was a requirement to file the cover sheet. Is that
Yes,
correct?
either the petition volume that they filed has more than 10 pages, or they filed more than one petition volume.
Thank you very much.
Candidates: Najee L., 77th Assembly District State Committee female. Gwendolyn Primus, State Committee, Democratic State Committee female, 79th Assembly District. Raul Rodriguez, Democratic District Leader, 79th Assembly District. Iman C. Suleiman, Delegate to the Judicial Convention, 77th AD. Michael Bedford, Judicial Convention Delegate, 77th AD. Rodney Baldwin, Judicial Convention Delegate, 77th AD. And Yolanda Garcia, Judicial Delegate, 77th AD. Any appearances? Commissioners, there appears to be no appearances on these. I guess I should move an important block for those.
There being no appearances, I would move these in block. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody object or abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes the legal prima facie. Mr. Graves and his staff will be calling both the CRU prima facie report and the enrollment issues report, which should be in a folder inside your larger blue folder.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Steve stated, we have in the Bronx folder, within the blue folder, candidate enrollment issues for the Bronx. I'm going to read these very quickly. I'm going to read the party and the name of the candidate. If you're present, please make your way to the podium in anticipation of being heard.
Are all the objections the same?
They're all prima facie issues regarding enrollment or registration.
Commissioners, this list has posted on the wall for anyone to examine.
The following are Democratic candidacies with enrollment issues, prima facie. Iman C. Suleiman, Gallo Henson, Clifford Simmons, Alan Jones, Khadija Saeed, Pamela Hamilton Johnson, Naomi Terrell, Rudolph D. Francis Jr., Stephen M. Stern, Marshall Collins, Miguel A. Santiago, Michael Dennis, Edries C. Livingstone, Bertha Jagasar, Barbara F. Williamson, Barbara Desmond, Rachel L. James, Jeffrey Frost, Marjorie Stewart, Luz Rivera, Natalie Rivera, Renee Carey, Susilis Rivera, Tina Ahrens, Ilio Ruiz, Juan Peralta, Cecilia Smoker, Pam Finley, Luis De Jesus Jr., Adam Nieves, Constance Edwards, Esther Warshaw, Raquel Hernandez, Glenda Hernandez, Ella Rochester, Linda Stein, Gloria Quinones, Estela Hernandez, Cora Cobham, Paula Diaz, Genevieve Battles, Anibal Soto, Dominga Cuevas, Nancy Lopez, Shirley Dunbar, Gloria Seaton, Lourdes Colon, Lillian R. Pimble, Sherdick B. Covert, Charles Akwash, Hussein D'Ambrosio, Anthony Perez, Samuel Goldman, Gregory D. Cantor, Lisa Prendy Steiner, Nicholas S. DeCow, Rosalind Licht, Sheldon Licht, Geraldine Denners, Anthony Soldo, Nicole Spencer, Kathleen Delaney, Theodore Karstensen, Elsa Veneziano, Barbara Whalen, Anthony Caccioli, Katie Bento, Patricia McMillan, Lester Marks, Rose Foley, Evelyn Borelli, Natalie Skopotza, Rosa Loria, Mildred Falchi, Louisa V. Chase, Varen Hutchinson, Laura Coleman, Lois Springle, Bahati Pitt, Gretel Laban, Millicent Wilson, Miriam Abrams, Susie Fuzel, Wanda Bailu, Helen Rivera, Brenda J. Austin, Vila Hall, Florine Brewster, Robin Kelly, Willie Dillard, Leon Mercer, Carol Ann Gracie Miller, Madeline Cofield, Horace Whitaker, Grace E. Wright, Lulinda Curtin, Helen McKaylee, Tyra Williams, Dolores A. Hicks, Frank Porter, Keisha Edwards, Yvonne Armstrong, Luana Eldridge, Estevan De Leon, Alessandra De Jesus, Tabitha Gote, Carolyn Hedgepeth, Michael T. Krauser, Myrna F. Lewis, Damarie Soto, Ronnie Smith, Jacqueline Barrios, Consuelo Maldonado, Sharon M. Matthews, Georgina Miranda, Nestor Ortiz, Jaime Paez, Juan Pagan, Jose Sepulveda, Marlene Troncoso, Melissa Quintero, Sean Richardson, Carmen Rodriguez, Francisco Medina, Carlos Cruz, Jarvis Norfleet, Judith Raphael, Rosendo Bevere, Antonia Mejia, Abul Hashnat, Jasmine Ruiz, Madeline Gonzalez, Judith DeFore Howard, Shyam Bhaja, Regina Edwards, Jose Rodriguez, Audrey Henry, Jerry Jones, Antoinette Wheeler, Jonella Hill, Nizra Mamoun Rahman, Jose Ortiz, Barbara Ray, Kira Ray, Ilfonso Martinez, Rahan Uzaman, Doris Rancazio, Catherine Mabry, Priscilla Rosello, Shamima Begum, Asfar Udin Ahmed, Fernando Otero, Janice Reyes, Farid Despines, Jessica Figueroa, Elisa Maxwell, Denise Owens. Those are all the Democrats. Should I continue with the other parties?
We have someone here.
I just have a question. There's three issues here, right? Candidate registration does not exist, they're not enrolled in the party on a petition, and the third one says the registration is not active. How do we identify registration as active or not active, just for the public's?
Commissioners, if the board receives a written communication back from the Postal Service that one of our communications to the voter has been returned as undeliverable, the election law requires us to place that voter in inactive status, send out a confirmation notice trying to seek the information of whether or not that voter is still registered at the address they are in. If we do not receive a response to that voter remains in inactive status. That voter can reactivate his registration by either casting an affidavit ballot or filing an updated registration form. If that voter, after being placed in inactive status, does not vote then in 2 successive federal elections, that voter following the second federal election is then purged from the system as a 4-year inactive in accordance with the provisions of Article 5 of the election law.
So they'd be deemed inactive, or you just wouldn't find them if you were looking for them in the report?
Commissioners, they would be, if you enter into the system, they would come up as an inactive status, so their name would not appear in the poll list book on election day. But they could vote by affidavit ballot while they are in inactive status.
And their vote would count?
Assuming, Commissioner, that they cast the affidavit ballot in the correct poll site and the correct ED from where they are now living, and everything else with the registration is correct, they would be counted. But again, if it was a primary and you were registered as an enrolled Republican, and you voted in the Democratic primary, it wouldn't count.
So we don't allow them to run for office, but we do consider them able to vote.
Commissioner, they are not managed with an active registration.
Registration.
They do not have an active registration on file with the board. They've been given notice now to come and appear, and if they say that they want to activate it by filling out even a corrected registration form today, we would activate them, and we have restored them to the candidates.
So we gave them notice that they are inactive.
Everyone was, yes, everyone was
After
given
the
a notification
petition was
notice.
filed?
Yes. By mail, by first class mail to the address stated on the petition.
So they could have come today and
Okay.
reactivated, and it would have been
So
okay.
that's all I wanted to know. So if someone did come today, we can discuss it with
And I
them.
believe we have two.
Okay.
Ma'am, would you state your name and
Sure.
which office you're running for?
My name is Pamela Hamilton Johnson. I'm running for the 83rd Female
First page.
State Committee.
Okay. Ma'am, we don't have any evidence that you registered at this address.
That's not, this says candidates registration does not exist.
Does not exist, yes.
Okay, so what I did was what happens is that my name is Pamela Hamilton Johnson, and the Board of Elections has it as Pamela Johnson. So what I did was I added the Hamilton to it, got it certified, and I have it with me
Could you
today.
hand it out, please?
Sure.
Address matches. Commissioners, there's a voter registration form clocked in at 2:21 on July 8 for Ms. Johnson, Hamilton Johnson, saying her prior voting information name was Pamela Johnson, and now adding Hamilton Johnson to the registration.
Line 20.
Yes. Commissioner,
That's true, I think that your name should be stricken from the prima facie list. That would be my recommendation. So I would move that we exclude her from the list based on that file.
Second, then. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against or abstain? The name is stricken, she will appear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Next, ma'am.
Good afternoon, my name is Janella Hill. I received a letter dated July 23rd stating that my registration does not exist. I'm a candidate for the Democratic County Committee.
Which district, do you know?
Yes, the 50th of the 87th.
87.
87%.
It says 87th on the letter, if you'd like to see it.
The bottom of page 20, Commissioners.
Do you have any documentation?
Yes, I do. First of all, the address on the letter is 2010 Vice Avenue. That is an erroneous address. My correct address is 2016 Vice Avenue. I have for submission to the record a certified copy of my voter registration. And I also have to submit for the record my voting history since 1986.
We're pulling the petition to see what address is actually on the petition now.
We have the county committee without the county committee schedule.
So the county committee schedule.
Would you pass up what you have?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Steve, you're saying we were looking at the schedule because the schedule is supposed to mirror the petition, is that
Correct. And Commissioners, in accordance with your rules, given the volume of county committee members, we have directed all of our data entries based off of the approved county, submitted certified county committee schedule. Commissioners, here's the voter information. And for the 50th Assembly District Commissioners, the typewritten schedule has 2010 Vice Avenue. That's the basis for the determination.
Unfortunately, it appears that the petition has your wrong address.
The committee submitted an erroneous address.
Right, that's the problem.
What?
Can you show that to her, please?
But that's not, is that my fault that they submitted an erroneous address?
Mr. Richmond, what's the
Ma'am,
case
if
law, the procedures on this?
Again, this document submitted on the behalf of your behalf is supposed to mirror the petition, so it means that that's the address that should appear on the petition as well, which is incorrect.
But I didn't submit a incorrect address, they did.
Right, but they're submitting on your behalf, so there's an assumption that you reviewed it and that
I
you were
never
fine
saw
with
it.
the petitions.
I never
That's the
saw it.
problem.
I never saw the petition.
That's the problem.
And when it was presented to you, the enrolled members of the party in that election district, that's the address that you have.
The petition, some of the commissioners want to look at it.
You don't have Bronx 187, do you?
What's the volume?
187. So if you want, we could try to get a copy of the page number and maybe fax it to us.
Facts?
The Bronx. They're in the Bronx.
They're in the Bronx.
But these are not, this petition was not subject to its specifications or objections, so the parties probably did not have brought them down.
Let's second call this and continue with the rest of the calendar. Now, we're going to second call it while we try to locate the petition.
Thank you very much.
Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
Okay, so we should move on to the remaining parties.
Yes, please.
The following are conservative party issues for enrollment, prima facie enrollment issues. Conservative party, Michael Walters. That's the only one.
Call the other parties too.
Working Families Party. Carl E. Heasty. Sandy Pope. Those are the only two working families issues. Independence Party. Kevin Barrett, David M. Johnson. And that concludes the conversation.
Any appearances for those conservative working families or independence party candidates?
You sure Mr. Hasty's not a member of the working family?
According to our records, no.
There being none, I would move the rest of this prima facie calendar.
If I may just respond momentarily, as his counsel, I can assure you he's not a member of the working family.
Thank you, Mr. Schwab.
All in favor? Anybody against? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
Commissioner, very well, and we'll have a second call on that one candidate.
Thank you.
You want to go to the regular issue?
Yes, now we're going to move on to the regular CRB prima facie issues.
Please, all.
You're going to see very thick reports of questions.
Or is this going to follow the whole Democratic over-designation?
We're going to read off the Democratic over-designation issues in the Bronx. In the 77th AD, Iman C. Suleiman, Rodney Baldwin, Clifford Simmons, Michael Beckford. Those are all state committee.
Were these people already marked off?
Yes.
It's impossible to tell which was which. But that group of four is that the third time now.
84th Assembly District, Kenia de la Cruz, Altagracia de la Cruz, Kersey de la Cruz, Robert Baez, Narli L. Delgado, Robin DeCisa, Eric Green. Those are all 84th AD over designations. 82nd AD, Angela Rosario, Deborah Rivera, Melissa Rivera. 83rd AD, Winnie Robinson, George Grandison, William Delach, Patricia Hazel, Melissa Castro, Myrna Pedraja, Mildred Hughes. 82nd AD, Francis Aristo, Anna Maria Coriale, Nunzia Sadgracia. 79th AD, Charlene Lafayette, Monique Y. Kelly, Sidney W. Gould, Thomasina Thomas, Laura Horn, Betty M. Johnson, Claudette Stevens, Marina, 82nd AD, Marina King, Laura Dowdy, Howard Glasgow, Gloria Watt, Raul Coleman, Doris L. Borman, Joyce W. Giles, Ashley Korn, Sylvia Reyes, Renee Mills, Louisa B. Chase, Carol B. Wilson, Patty Overman, Christopher Saunders, Daisy Benjamin, Joyce Wilson, Dolores Debenham, Wanda Bailey, Clara Costin, Joy Harris, Gail Crouch, George Crouch, Regina Usher, Ruth Ramel Gonzalez, Shirley Saunders, Connie Crouch, Ren Samaj, Laverne Burrows, Josephine Cohen, Wanda Bailu, Mildred Braga, Rodney Saunders.
Hold that. Are there any appearances on the over-designation candidates?
Yes, please.
In the Democratic General Assembly 77th AD, we have a proof of service has a prima facie defect, fails to comply with Rule H11. The objector is Shanika Turner. Objection, Bronx number 4. For the same issue, we have Renee McKenzie, or McKenzie, objector. For member of Assembly, objection, Bronx 7. 79th AD, objector to Bronx 74, objection. Ernest Ellies, objector. Proof of service not securely fastened to the affidavit of service and sent return receipt requested, both of which violate designated petition rules. Additionally, we have Annette S. Carroll as objector against member of Assembly 79th District, objection Bronx 73. Proof of service not securely fastened to the affidavit of service and sent return receipt requested, both of which violate designated petition rules. And then the 83rd AD for Bronx, specification 72-1. Candidate Shirley Fearon, Pamela Hamilton Johnson candidate, Shirley A. Fearon objector. Specification deadline was July 17, 2014. Specification filed late on July 21st, 2014.
Any appearances?
Pamela Hamilton Johnson, 83rd. The specifications, what was the last one he just talked about? It was filed late.
So you don't object to the adoption of the report? To rule the specification to happen?
Well, first of all, they never served me, so I never saw the report.
Right, so you're not opposing there's a report. You wanted to go through.
Dismiss the objection.
Yeah, I want to dismiss the objection.
Anyone else appearing? There being no other appearances, we're moving the CRU.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear in the back there. This is the specs on the 83rd?
Yes.
I was at a different order on the calendar, so I apologize.
It's the prima facie on Bronx spec 72-1.
We take no opposition to that determination.
There being no opposition, we're moving the CRU prima facie report. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone against or abstain? Motion carries.
Here you go, here's the,
Commissioners, we're going to move to the specifications of objection and the various clerks' report, and the legal folder is one of counsel's report with respect to specification. But first, I'm going to ask the Bronx Deputy Chief to report to you in accordance with Rule H12. They have to announce and ask for your confirmation of the specs that would not work because they failed to comply with the requirements of Board Rule H12.
Yes. All commissioners, the following specification of objections have been determined by the respective deputy chief clerks and commissioners of Bronx County to comply with Rule H. BX4, I'm repeating some that were already on the specific. Okay. BX4, Latoya Joyner. BX7, Latoya Joyner. BX72, Pamela Hamilton Johnson. BX73, Raul Rodriguez. BX74, Raul Rodriguez. BX93 and 94, Mohammed John. BX95 and 96, Rosa Velasquez. BX97 and 98, Ricardo Martinez. BX99 and 100, Khadija Saeed. BX101 and 102, Fernando P. Torrado.
Commissioners, in accordance with your rules, unless some commissioner wishes to revisit the determination of the Bronx Commissioners Committee, those are final determinations.
I know on behalf of myself as the acting Bronx Commissioner and Commissioner O'Neill, we did speak with the deputy and, or the co-deputies with respect to all of these issues that occurred, that these were in violation or in conformity with H12, thereby we made a recommendation that they do not work the specs. That's my recommendation to the board.
Commissioners, then we'll move to the clerk's report submitted by the clerks from the Bronx. The first is the clerk's report for Bronx Specification 12, Democratic Party, in the matter of the objections by Oswald Feliz to the petition of Fernando Cabrera from New York State Senate 33rd District. Clerk's report, 3,003 signatures submitted, 1,751 found invalid, 1,252 found valid, 1,000 are required to qualify for the ballot, and they refer to the board 152 specifications related to forgery and 551 relating to similar handwriting. Are there any appearances, please?
For the objector, Stanley Schlein. Mr. President, there was also there was a surprise. It was a matter in advance of this on the calendar that wasn't called.
Which matter is that?
It was a matter of spec 76, state senator race. It's on the calendar that I have a copy of.
Well, this is the order that they put the forward, line 76.
Okay, well, we'll listen to whatever you call it.
Oh, excuse me, Commissioners, Chiefs, why don't you report what status?
Spec 76 and specs 82, 84, and 85. Spec 82, 84, 85 is one whole spec. Spec 76 and spec 82, 84, 85 are being held back to tomorrow for second call. We've noticed an irregularity in some of our rulings, and we are working them now, and the clerk reports have been sent out as we speak. So we are second call here.
And we appreciate that. That's what I was going to inform the board, so.
Thank you for putting that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, in speaking with the Bronx Deputy Chief,
Quiet, please, quiet.
we will be calling those specs at the conclusion of the Brooklyn calendar tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
You have to do 24 hours,
Okay.
unless people are willing to waive it.
I'm certainly willing to waive it as the objector.
That's the
I don't know if the candidates are.
One is being faxed as we speak, and one is being faxed shortly, so.
We don't have anything to be waived yet.
Yes, that's true.
So, Commissioners, we're going to go back to Bronx Spec 12. Falez, objections by Falez to the petitions of Cabrera for State Senate 33rd District. Are there any appearances?
I put an appearance and representing the objector, Stanley Schlein.
Do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody abstain or against? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidate will appear on the ballot. Specification number Bronx 71, petition, objections by Shirley Fearson to the petitions of Aliva Chen et al., a member of the Assembly et al., 83rd Assembly District. Clerk's report, 928 signatures submitted, 748 found invalid, leaving 180 valid. 500 signatures are required to qualify for the ballot, and 7 similar handwritings are referred to the board. Appearances, please.
For the objector, Stanley Schlein.
Do you wish to add anything?
I urge the board to adopt the report.
I move to adopt the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone against or abstain? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidate will not appear on the ballot. Specification number Bronx 79-1, Democratic Party. Objections of Oswald Feliz to the petition of Jose A. Padilla Jr., State Senate 33rd District. Clerk's report, 1,221 signatures submitted, 878 found invalid, 343 found valid, 1,000 signatures are required to qualify for the ballot. 5 similar handwriting objections are referred to the board. Appearances, please.
For the objector, Stanley Schlein.
Anything to add?
Move the report.
Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody against or abstain? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Specification number Bronx 80-1, Democratic Party. Objections by Benny Catala to the petitions of Sharice Palomino, a member of the Assembly, 77th AD. Clerk's report, 1,816 signatures submitted, 1,221 found invalid, leaving 595 valid. 500 signatures are required to qualify the ballot, and they refer to the board 15 objections on forgery and 42 on similar handwritings. Appearances, please.
For the objector, Stanley Schlein.
Neil Grimaldi for the candidate. Move the clerk's report.
Anybody by the question? Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidate is on the ballot. Bronx specification number 83-1, Democratic Party. Objections by Yania Munoz Justo to the petition of Blanca Rojas et al. For member of the Assembly et al. 85th Assembly District. Clerk's report, 195 signatures submitted, 163 invalid, 32 valid, 500 needed to qualify, 2 forgery objections referred to the board. Appearances.
For the objector,
For the
Stanley
candidate,
Schlein.
for the candidate, Goff Michelle.
Well, may I see the notice of appearance? Thank you.
And the candidate is here to sign the notice of appearance.
For this woman.
No, this has nothing to do with this case.
It's Rojas.
Oh, Rojas, sorry. Rojas, I jumped the gun, it's the same district.
I move the clerk's report.
Move the clerk's report. Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Specification Bronx 91, Democratic Party. Objections by Carolyn Jones to the petition of Lenina Lonis et al. For member of the Assembly et
The
al.
name is Jones, sir. Lenita Jones. It's Jones versus Jones.
Oh, Jones, a mistake on the report, sorry. Jones, member of the Assembly et al., Assembly District 79. Clerk's report, 1,191 signatures submitted, 625 found invalid, leaving 566 valid. 500 are required to qualify for the ballot.
For the objector, Stanley Schlein.
Egidio Sumentelli for the candidate,
Mr.
and also for the party position
Do you
candidates.
have a notice of appearance?
I have one notice of appearance.
Do you wish to add anything, Mr. Candidate? Or
Yes.
President? What would you like to add?
Well, if the council reviewed the, maybe he's got a recommendation.
Yes.
Does council have a recommendation
May I
on this
maybe
issue?
simplify this with the board's permission? I think this might simplify all the proceedings in this matter. I would withdraw the specifications in this matter.
Specifications are withdrawn.
Schlein,
Do
sir.
we need to move the clerk's report in?
That's the second withdrawal, Commissioner. We dismiss the clerk's report.
Dismiss the clerk's report as moved. All in favor? Aye. Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Clerk's report, Bronx specification number 103, Bronx Republican Party, in the matter of the objections by Joseph Gordon to the petition of James W. Lappin, a member of the Assembly in the 81st Assembly District. Clerk's report, 361 signatures submitted, 180 deemed invalid, 181 deemed valid, 294 signatures are required to qualify. Appearances.
There being no appearances, move the clerk's report. Second. All in favor? Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Clerk's report specification number Bronx 106, Democratic Party. The objections by Robert Barnes to the petition of Angel Molina, a member of the Assembly in the 84th Assembly District. Clerk's report, 1,427 signatures submitted, 809 invalid, 618 found valid, 500 required to qualify. Referred to the board, objections, 82 forgeries and 12 similar handwritings. Appearances.
Neil, I'm sorry, sir.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Neil Grimaldi for Angel Molina. Thank you, Mr. Schlein. I
For
move
the
the clerk's
objector,
report.
Stanley Schlein, and we take no exception with the clerk's report.
Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Thank you
Clerk's
very much,
report is
sir.
adopted. Candidate will appear on the ballot. And lastly, Commissioners, we have the council's report on specifications of objections, Bronx 69, the objections of Carolyn Jones to the petition filed on behalf of candidate Michael A. Blake for the public office of member of the Assembly in the 79th Assembly District. The objector filed legal specifications seeking to invalidate the petition for the candidate, claiming that the candidate does not meet the minimal constitutional requirements for the stated public office because he's not been a resident of the state for 5 years, and not been a resident of the Assembly District for 12 months immediately preceding. Commissioners, the Constitution does require that candidates in the legislature be a resident of the state for the 5 years preceding their election, and also have to be a resident of under the election law for the 1 year prior to the commencement of the elections. We've outlined the review of the board's records and what it shows. However, the Appellate Division, Second Department, in the matter of Diamond Stone v. Connor, held that the New York State Supreme Court, and not this board, is in the best position to resolve residency claims, and saying that the central determination in residency matters is whether the individual has manifested an intent coupled with physical presence without any aura of sham. The trial court is in the best position to assess the issues of credibility and against our conflicting testimony. Therefore, Commissioners, after the Appellate Division being rather explicit in the lack of our authority, it is respectfully submitted by the Counsel's Office that the Board should not act on this specification of objection. A proceeding has been commenced in New York State Supreme Court, Bronx County, which is the appropriate forum to resolve these issues.
Appearances for the objector, Stanley Schlein.
For Mr. Blake, Sarah Steiner.
May I point out to the board, we in fact incorporated the Diamond Stone decision in our objections, recognizing the courts are the best forum. I would, however, point out to the court that the Appellate Division determination that is referred to by counsel was one of the Second Department, and for the record, we believe that this board does have that jurisdiction, but rather than argue that matter before the board today, we will bring our case to the court, which has already commenced our proceeding. Thank you.
Do you wish to add anything against the candidate?
Yes, I am requesting that someone from the board bring the papers served in this proceeding to the court. A certified copy of the papers that were served to the court tomorrow afternoon. I have sent a fax to Mr. Schlein's office telling him that we are under CPLR 2101 and CPLR 3022 prepared to treat these papers as a nullity or in the alternative as an unverified pleading which does not comply with the law or the order to show cause. In neither the papers that were served on the candidate nor on the papers that were served on the board was there a verification page or any other signature page. It is an incomplete filing. It was service of a defective document. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, for your information, I have just been served with both a judicial subpoena for both my in-person testimony and bringing all the relevant documents returnable in Bronx Supreme Court's proceeding on Monday, August 4th, to appear before Justice Carter or his designee during the hearings held at the Bronx office.
And just for the record, obviously there's money attached to that.
There's the statutory witness fee that is provided
I don't
in
know,
public
is that the whole
session.
witness fee? It looks like a 5. It's supposed to be 18. I don't.
There's a 5 and a 10.
Well, thank you. I would move that we adopt the council report.
I owe you $3.
Objection. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Stephen.
Anybody against, abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The coffers of the city of New York
I've got
appreciate the
$18.
$18 contribution from Mr. Swan.
The Bronx callbacks, can we do them at 1 o'clock before Brooklyn tomorrow, since?
So there's only one callback. I mean, one other callback besides the.
Do we have the
Do we have the
Can we
petition?
do it at 1 o'clock tomorrow, considering we're not sure if Brooklyn will even be here by 1?
When the clerk's report's finished, you get 24
4 hours. But the other side has to wait too.
Can we,
2 o'clock. And we do it. Get on that now, until we get you here at 1 and get you in and out again tomorrow.
do we have a report back on that, candidate enrollment?
I'm haven't received the scan yet, I'm waiting for the scan copy to come out.
That's on continuing second call
So,
status,
Commissioners, if you want to get second call status.
just so we can save her a trip and come back. Okay? All right,
Thank you.
that concludes, we'll adjourn the Bronx till tomorrow. Recess the Bronx.
Subject to the second call.
Subject to the second call. Thank you very much. On behalf of the commission, I would like to thank the staff for their hard work during the petition process.
We didn't call some of the other districts.
What are you referring to specifically?
Discriminating film, discriminating by.
We made an announcement about it, like,
But, yeah, but they're not, but there are issues that I wanna deal with before I have to come back. You know what I mean? As far as service, as far as late filing for general objections, all that is on, it should be dealt with before you talk about reworking the spec.
We're not asking you to work the spec.
Yes, that's what I was told by Mr. Robinson.
My understanding is that the Bronx office is revising its clerk's report based on their review that they had made either errors or omissions. So it hasn't been redirected, directed by this board to be reworked. We haven't had a report submitted yet, Commissioners.
Right,
Perhaps if it is reworked, and if Mr. Marchand is representing the other side and Mr. Schlein is already here, maybe it would be a matter of convenience to both of them if we would hear this on second call, if this would be acceptable to them with the clerk's report, and then both sides would then waive the 24-hour notification.
I have agreed to waive the 24-hour notification, this is Stanley Schlein for the record, on the determination on those specifications if the Bronx clerks have in fact the requisite reworking completed. And I don't know if the representative of the candidates has that authority to waive it as well. If he does, let's proceed. I should point out to the commission.
We're not going to proceed now until we get the clerk's report. We'll share it with both of you and then put it on second call. Both of you don't have to come back.
Are you
Right,
authorized?
tomorrow, I just want to point out
Yeah,
to
do you have a notice?
point out to the board that Judge Carter has required us to appear tomorrow for the commencement of election law proceedings.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get you on, I'm trying to get you on today. Mr. Marchand, I think it makes sense in terms of our economy of listening, we'd like to handle the whole thing at one time.
Right, because there's a service problem.
I understand, and you'll have plenty of time to explain and tell us all about it. I think we'd like to do it all at once.
No problem.
I need clarification on whether or not my second call is today.
It hasn't been adjourned, it hasn't been adjudicated yet.
Thank you.
Excuse me, you're not finished with the Bronx, are you? I thought.
Except for Ms. Hall and the objection that Mr. Schlein and Mr. Marchand are dealing with, we were finished.
Okay, first of all, it's a pleasure to see everyone as always. I have the candidacy of Raul Rodriguez that we never got to. And I have an issue on Mr. Quinones, Elliot Quinones. Quinones is running for the Senate and Rodriguez is a candidate for the Assembly, and we never got there.
And what calendar are they on?
I don't know what calendar it is. I can't see because I don't have my glasses, but I mean, they're he's an Assembly candidate that you had barked that he would be on the ballot, but we never got to the issue here.
I'm sure we did. I mean, the question for
I didn't
you were able to appear timely. We'll look into it. Give the office the names of the people.
Commissioner, those specifications under Rule H12 were deemed to be frivolous. They were not worked, so in a sense the specs have been dismissed.
You're for the candidate?
What candidate? Raul Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, then. And then I have Mr. Muniz, Senator candidate Muniz, who was found to be on the ballot. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Richmond.
No, it's not here, so it's gonna be, I'm glad we had that name. Is that on your prima facie?
There was Elliot Quinones. (32nd Assembly District). Sorry, 32nd. Senate. Excuse me. It's my Bronx accent, I apologize. I'm working on it.
What slip do we have?
Leo. He's on. Okay.
No, is that, Mr. Grimaldi, what spec number is that?
I don't have, I apologize, I can't read the board, I didn't see the spec number. He's the 32nd Senate District in the Bronx, Elliot Quinones. You had him on.
That's the,
According to your
that's
clerk
the
report.
8485, the one that's been recalled.
Oh, that's being recalled.
Oh, it's being
So you have
recalled.
candidates on that petition as well?
What?
You have candidates on those petitions as
I have
well?
Mr. Quinones, I have the honor to represent Mr. Quinones. Is he gonna be, is one gonna be recalled tomorrow?
Well, no, we're going to try and do it later because Mr. Marchand had represented to us that he was.
He has
acting
two
on behalf
candidates.
of the candidates.
He
Okay,
does
fine.
have representation though for.
I want to thank you very much,
No, no,
gentlemen.
I mean,
I'll be back.
Oh, you'll be back.
I'll be back. Thank
But
you.
we were going to do it
Mr.
this
Grimaldi,
afternoon.
which candidates are you representing?
The great Mr. Richmond, I represent Mr. Quinones. I can't say Mr. Richmond. Mr. Richmond is such a great man, such an outstanding man.
So, but
And he's always against me. He's never been on my side, ever, never. The only thing we had the same thing, we went to Mr. Clinton's party, we both went together with Mr. Clinton, the president. Other than that, we've never been on the same side of anything.
The specs that are here, and Mr. Costello mentioned before. that need to
Okay,
be
thank you,
recalled.
Mr. Richmond. I apologize, I'm trying to overcome my shyness.
Spec number 76.
Mr. Grimaldi, will you hang around then?
I'd love to hang around.
So, Mr. Quinones waives the 24-hour rule as well, and we'll hear them all as if and when the specs.
So we're moving to Manhattan now?
Okay.
Manhattan? Is Manhattan ready?
Thank you.
What time is Manhattan scheduled?
2 minutes, so we can get it ready, get
Are they
it.
here?
We just go right on. This is the afternoon, so we just keep going. Manhattan's done in 15 minutes, we gotta keep going.
Alan Schultz, Deputy Chief Clerk. Gregory Lehman, Chief Clerk.
Mr. President, we will begin again with the prima facie challenges out of your red, out of the brown folder, the Manhattan folder, legal prima facie. Again, we were gonna call candidates' names, parties, descriptions. If anyone wants to appear on the prima facie calendar, please line up and we'll hear you at the end of the call. We begin with the Green Party, petition number New York 613, Martin B. Davis, Gil Ober, Christopher J. Archer, John D. Baldwin, James J. Landy, Martha Kessler, Ivana Edwards, Julia Willebrand, all for the Independence Party State Committee. Their petitions omit zip codes.
Any
Green Party.
appearances? Oh, all right, go ahead.
Next, Commissioner, in the Republic.
Steve?
Oh, Joanne? Did I misread it? I'm apologizing. Joanne, yes.
appears to.
Yes. Republican Party, New York County, petitions 385 and 386 for the 69th AD alternate delegate to the Judicial Convention, Stephanie Dominici Carbonaghi. Address listed on petition is incomplete. The street name is listed as CPW. See Exhibit A for the submitted printer's error letter. And again, Commissioners, in this instance, an amended cover sheet has been filed to conform to the printer's letter if you deem it appropriate, explaining that the printer set forth that the person who prepared it, that inadvertently listed CPW instead of Central Park West.
Yeah. Just on that, if you take that out of order and maybe sort of excluded from the list, I think everybody in the borough of Manhattan and the county of New York knows that CPW means Central Park West. It had a zip code that was correct, and the standard is the correct mailing address. I believe CPW and the correct zip code would suffice, and so with the printer's letter, I would recommend that this person be excluded from the prima facie.
Is there,
And the amended cover sheet is deemed valid.
is there a second? All in favor? Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
Very good. The candidate will appear on the ballot. With respect to the Democratic Party, petitions 549, Ruben Vargas, 30th Senate District. The petition volume is not numbered sequentially at the foot of each sheet. A cure notice was sent, no cure was ever submitted. Guillermo Linares, State Senate, 31st Senate District. Candidate failed to file a cover sheet in accordance with Armwood. Democratic Party, Conrad M. Foa, Male State Committee, 73rd Assembly District. Petition list incomplete, zip code only 4 digits. See Exhibit B for the printer's error letter which was submitted. We also have a pending amended cover sheet which will conform to the printer's error letter. David Kogelman, alternate delegate to the Judicial Convention, 69th AD, Democratic Party. Street name listed on the petition does not exist. Riverside Drive Avenue. A decision on the cover sheet amended is also pending.
On those two, even though they are the short-sightedness of being on the other party, I think that, well, I guess, at least in terms of Conrad Foa, who at one time ran for state senate, I think that his cure would be sufficient, both as to the cover sheet and as to the prima facie. So I would dismiss that.
Valid cover sheet.
Right.
Is there a second on that? All in favor? Anybody abstain or oppose? Motion carries.
So it's really done Riverside Drive Avenue?
Was printed on the petition.
Okay.
Excuse me, Commissioner, I didn't hear you said, does that mean FOA is on the ballot?
FOA is on, yeah. He's off the exclusion list, so it means he's on.
Okay, I just didn't hear you, thank you.
Okay. All right. Is it Kogelman?
It's usually the state second.
So we'll continue with the,
The following candidates failed to file a cover sheet. Jeffrey Eaton, alternate delegate, Democratic Judicial Convention, 70th AD. Londell Davis, alternate delegate to the 70th AD Judicial Convention. Alternate delegate in the 75th AD, Brian M. Jenks, the petition omits zip code. For Noah Pfefferbad, alternate delegate, Judicial Convention, 75th AD, petition lists an invalid zip code, 6 digits. Exhibit C is a submitted printed error letter claiming that the printer made a mistake. There's also a pending amended cover sheet, which would be valid if you deem the printer's letter acceptable.
is there a motion with respect to this printer's letter?
I would move that we accept the printer's letter.
Is there a second? All in favor? Anyone oppose or abstain? Motion carries.
So the prima facie defect against Mr. Pfefferbad is dismissed, and the amended cover sheet is deemed valid. Commissioners, that concludes the balance of the report. We'd ask for those remaining on the list that the prima facie report is
The
adopted.
balance of the prima facie.
Any appearances?
On any of those we just called?
I'm Ruben Vargas, candidate on the...
Can you speak up? I'm sorry.
Ruben Vargas, candidate on the, so far, petition for state senate on the 30th district. And it referred to the numbering of the petitions. This number was done by 3 people, counting and writing loud at the same time. These people was Mr. Norman Lafont, who was the writing person of the numbering of the petition, was another very well known and loved by everybody person that was also numbering that petition at the same time, and I myself was present. And they were numbered 227 pages.
So let me see if I understand. You're indicating a petition was actually numbered?
Well, correctly
Do we
and
have the petition
properly.
here?
Commissioner, the defect was that the petition numbers were not sequentially numbered. I believe there's a gap of approximately 10 pages in the numbering
Well,
sequence.
can we see the petition? Can we also get the copy of the NCN notice?
The petition number 549. Here's a copy of the NCN notice.
Ruben Vargas?
Aye, sir.
You're Ruben Vargas?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'd like to see if we can
This suit had an accident in public papers.
Mr. Richmond?
Yeah.
Would you step in?
They were commenting on your sartorial splendor.
Mick Green, Mick Green,
I'd like to add, if I may,
Commissioners, this is the petition line in question, line 549. It is numbered sequentially up through page 170. And then it jumps.
Yeah, it is definitely missing pages 171 through 179.
Mr. Richmond, upon review of the petition, when was the notice to comply letter sent out?
The notice of noncompliance was sent out on July 18th via express mail to Mr. Vargas to the address stated on the petition, advising him that volume 6549 fails to comply and giving him a 3-day opportunity, with the 3 business days, an opportunity to cure. He had never received a cure. In addition, he received a prima facie defect notice, advising him that he could contest this finding of a prima facie defect at today's hearing dated July 24th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
if I may add to this situation, I was at the Manhattan office, the clerk. I was asking to view the petition, and I was informed by more than one person, including the chief clerk, that the petition, that you cannot see the petition at that moment. I wanted to, and they said because the petition had been torn apart, that 5 different people were looking at the petition.
The petition isn't torn apart. Did you ever have an opportunity to look at the petition?
I was able to finally, after an hour and a half, I waited until they put the petition together, so I could just look at it because it was also already 5:30 at the time for them to leave.
Okay.
So, but it was clear to me, including the chief clerk, the person who replaced Mr. Tingay, and 2 other members stated to me that the petition was 5 different people have the petition, and because of that, I had to wait, and I waited an hour and a half, and then they finally.
Mr. Gay told you that?
And I think that I attribute the missing of the pages. The petition was separated, which is not according to the election law.
Okay, well, let's have the chief and deputy respond to that. I believe they have a response for that.
Yes, Mr. Vargas was there, and he asked to see the spec. Before I gave him the spec, I called Steve Richmond to make sure it was okay. He knew I was on the phone with the attorney the whole time, and that's the only holdup there was.
So was the spec not the petition that was taken upon? Just for the record, all right. There was a motion, it was seconded. All in favor? Anybody oppose or abstain? The motion carries.
The prima facie report as amended is adopted. The legal. Mr. Graves, I believe you have CIU issues?
Yes. Following our presentation candidate enrollment issues, I'm going to read very quickly through the names, beginning with the Democratic Party. If you're present, please come forward in anticipation of being heard. Jason Haber, Monte Alvarez de Leon, Jamal Nelson, Brad G. Marks, Michael Schreiber, Charles Seidenberg, Danielle Lukowitz, Martha Kane, Arlene King, Germania Rodriguez, Matthew A. Weissman, Kurt Kahn, John W. Hanson. Those are Democratic names.
Do you want to continue with the rest of the list?
Yes. Conservative Party, Andrew Sussman, Michael Walters. Working Families Party, Luis Tejeda, Adriano Espaillat, Gabriela J. Rosa. Independence Party, Kevin Barrett. That concludes the list.
Any appearances?
Leo Glickman for Jason Haber, the candidate. I've handed up my notice of appearance. Mr. Haber has received a letter saying the candidate is not registered. He's registered at a different address that is stated on his petition. He was registered at 10 West 74th Street, and he moved last year to 155 West 70th. petition properly stated his residential address. He believes he sent in a change of address form. Nevertheless, I'm not sure that's particularly relevant here. He could have voted, it was a move within the Assembly District. And I have an affidavit here and proof of his former address and his present address. If you'd like me to hand that
the
out.
affidavit to Mr. Richmond so you can take a look at it?
Was he then, and is he now still involved in the Democratic?
Yeah, you said enrolled, and I think the letter he received was that he's not registered.
I understand.
Yeah, he's a Democrat, yes.
Because we couldn't find
stated
him.
on the petition.
Since we couldn't find him, I'm just asking, maybe he had the good sense of changing parties, that's all.
What do you have there, Mr. Richmond?
He claimed that he sent the change of address form to the board by first-class mail. And it says there's an attachment from the...
No, I have it right here.
Well, if you're giving us an affidavit, give us the whole thing.
You just asked for the affidavit. I said I
Well, it says
have
that
it.
it's attached. That's...
Very bad, the whole thing was.
Commissioners, there's an affidavit here, there's also a printout that appears to be from the state board database that has a different address than what we have in our database, which I'm somewhat surprised at saying how it can happen. Because the state board database is composed of our sufficient.
How do you have an address if it, I mean, you said he wasn't registered.
So is
What's
the address at the state board, the address is...
I looked on the website, yes.
What does the affidavit say as to where he lives?
He says, last year I moved my residence to 155 West 70th Street.
Which is the address on this
Yes.
calendar, correct?
For the last 6 years, my residence was located at 10 West 74th Street, so the state board address is still, state board registration still shows him at the incorrect address on the petition. It's a different address.
Right, but
We
we
have
have
a-
not on the petition. Gentleman indicating he lives at this right address, right? And is that something we've taken in the past?
We have.
Okay.
I would move that we exclude Mr. Haber from the proclamation.
All in favor? Anybody against or opposed? Motion carries.
Just for my client's sake, excluding today is a good thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In other words, if someone was on the list, knocking him off, we've taken him off the bad list, so he's otherwise on.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner, this relates to his state committee candidacy. Is he also making it to his delegate candidacy below that?
Yeah.
Can we have
Mr.
him?
Blickman?
Mr. Glick?
Yes, Your Honor, we would, Your Honor, Commissioners, we would make the same objection to him being on the prima facie council.
Extended.
Excluded in both cases.
All in favor? Anybody against or abstain?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt the candidate enrollment issues as amended? Seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody abstain or vote against? Motion carries.
Commissioners, additionally, we have a regular prima facie report to CRU. And again, with the issue of Adriana Espaillat, the Working Families candidacy of State Senate in 31st District. The issue is no acceptance policy. Continue with Louis Tejeda, Working Families candidacy, State Senate 31.
Is that microphone working, Mr. Graves? Some people in the back seem to be having problems.
For the Louis Tejeda issue, just stated Working Families, State Senate 31, acceptance filed with no petitions filed. Gabriela Rosa, Member of Assembly, Working Families candidacy, 72nd District, authorization filed with no petitions filed. Next issue, in the Independence Party, Christopher Gaetano, State Committee male candidate in the 29th District. Petition seems to not have the required number of signatures. Petition contains one page with one signature. 189 signatures required.
It really isn't seems, right? It's just an added word.
Yeah.
It's the weight test.
Yeah,
Peers would probably be better.
right.
Next issue is for the Democratic Party, Tamika Mapp. Petition states incomplete office title.
Let's just do the names and,
Okay. Following are all Democratic issues. Maya Benez Villalona and Ted Jones is a Republican issue. Anyone appearing?
Last two, those three,
The 72nd and 68th. Any appearances?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Ed Brady. I'm the objector on the independence for, I think it's number 8 on your calendar.
This is the 160.
Yes. I'm the objector. I want to make sure it gets thrown off.
You're in the wrong place, sir.
Yeah, go on the other side.
Oh, my apologies.
Any other appearances?
yeah, on behalf of Ted Jones, he's a candidate there were 2 objections filed against him. I believe specs were filed. He does not want to run. He's filed a declination that apparently was filed late, but his expectation was that he was going to be knocked off based upon the objections that were filed. And I know that he has no desire to run, and he would like to be off. I'm not sure if I did not see specs work for him. Only general.
You filed an authorization to,
He didn't need to file an authorization.
No, you
No, I'm just,
I'm just playing with you. So no specs were filed. Declination made.
was filed,
On time.
more than a week late, due to the strict statutory deadline.
there may be nothing that we can do, but,
You do not have the authority under the electrical to extend the statute.
okay.
All right.
All right, so,
All right, move the, is there a motion to move the CRU Prime Fashion Report? Yes, is there a second? All in favor? Anyone against or opposed? Motion carries. What?
Yes, you attend it, yes, so yours is off.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we're going to move on to the month's reports now. And with your permission, Commissioners, Mr. Sabino, for the following reports.
Working Families, spec number NY4-1, objections by Scott Summer, petition of Manny Cavaco, number of signatures submitted, 82, total invalid signatures, 82, number of signatures required, 23. Appearances?
Here. Hello, gentlemen, ladies.
Notice of appearance, please.
Beg pardon?
Notice of
Oh,
appearance.
I beg your pardon. Got in there with this. Thank you very much. You get them all. You get them all. Whereas I got no notice of a general objection, I think that the objection was filed late, and that's why I ought to be in the ballot box.
Commissioners, there's no requirement under the election law or the rules that a general objection be served upon the candidate. The only requirement is that if specifications are filed with this board, said specifications have to be first filed, served upon the candidate for public office.
Do you have anything to add with respect to the clerk's report?
In respect to the spec report?
No, the clerk's report.
The clerk's report.
Which is the spec report, yes, that's what you report. Did you
did not
get
receive
a
one of
copy of the specs served on you? Not the general objection, but the specifications of objection. Were they served on you?
That, if I got a letter from Sumner, this is true. I don't have it on me, I'm sorry to say.
Or was it a letter that included the specifications of objection?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I move the clerk's report.
All in favor? Anyone opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
So I'm out?
Candidate is off the ballot.
All right, hey, thanks for your effort.
Democratic Party, spec New York 5-1. Oh, this is objections by Jason Cruz to the petition of Tamika Mapp. Appearances?
Commissioners, you have dismissed this, remove this candidate prima facie.
So dismiss this as moot. Is there a motion for that?
Second.
Any appearances on the, no.
Is there a second? All in favor? Anyone abstain or object? Motion carries.
Independence Party, spec.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just wanted to clarity you on Ted Jones, so you're, the Republican, is he still on the ballot?
Yes.
Ted Jones is still on, all right, thank you.
Independence Party, spec number New York 8-1. Objections by Edward Brady, petition of Christopher Giatino. This was off prima facie as well.
Any appearances?
I move to dismiss as moot.
Second.
All in favor? Any abstains or objections? Motion carries.
Democratic Party, spec New York 10-1. Objections by Cordell Clear and the petition of Ruben D. Vargas.
Commissioners, this, again, this,
Appearances?
the candidacy has been, candidate has been removed prima facie, but I guess there's appearance for the objector and the candidate?
Yes, Keith Lilly for the objective, wish to adopt the clerk's report into the record.
Did you submit a notice of appearance?
Yes.
Yeah, just for the record, that was the one with the page numbering defect, but the number of signatures submitted for the candidate was 1,030, total invalid signatures 457, valid signatures 573, signatures required 1,000.
It's being dismissed as
I'd like
moot.
to ask the approval served on the
I'm sorry,
specification.
The objector is requesting them?
Your
Yes.
clerk's report to be adopted.
To be adopted, yes.
Is there a motion?
I'm asking that the approval served of the specification. The specification that does not comply with rule number H9A of the election law.
All right. Was there a second on that motion?
Yes, there's been a question of jurisdiction, so.
Commissioners, we have a certified receipt for certified mail on July 2014 to Mr. Ruben D. Vargas at the address set forth on the petition, and inscribed on there is specification, New York General Objection number 10, which I believe is the spec number, for these requirements of Rule H9.
Commissioner.
The candidate for public office, they're required to serve the spec on the candidate himself.
And as a rule H9, letter A, it refers to, it must be served by the objector to the candidate. And is now being served by the objector, as per the proof of service.
The proof of service, Commissioners, does not say who filed it. It says, under your Rule H9, it's for petitions designating a candidate for public office. The objector must serve a copy of the specifications either personally or by certified mail upon the candidate before filing such specs with the board. You have and it also says in terms of filing the proof of service under Rule H11, they have to identify it by either including the borough and general objection number spec on the proof of service, or attaching the proof of service to a copy of the first page of the spec. New York 10 is clearly
It's
there.
good. So, the motion's been made and
Commissioner,
seconded to adopt the clerk's report.
specification does not state who is serving the candidate. That's
It
it.
doesn't have to, sir.
I'm referring to.
I know, we just heard it. Mr. Richmond read it.
It read to
says
11.
It could be served personally on you. It's not, it's
If
or by
I-
certified mail.
If
That's what it
someone
says.
could read H9A, or I read it, if somebody want to read it.
We just read it.
No, I heard 11. It said that the objector must serve a copy of the specification upon the candidate. If anybody could read it. It's on page 13 of that red book.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, the
We read it.
motions have been made, seconded, all in favor? Anybody against or opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Clerk's report is adopted, and once again, a candidate remains off the ballot for the previously discussed page numbering defect and the clerk's report. Okay. Democratic Party, New York 12-1, objections by Ariel Ferreria to the petition of Mayo Banex Villonia. I apologize in advance for butchering that name. Member of the Assembly, 72nd Assembly District, number of signatures submitted for candidate 695, total signatures invalid 225, number of valid signatures 470, number of signatures required 500. Appearances, please.
This was knocked off already.
Yeah, this was.
I move to dismiss.
So the spec was dismissed.
The spec was dismissed, right, so.
So that the clerk's report should be dismissed this week.
I move to dismiss the spec report as moved. All in favor? All abstain? Any abstentions? Any objections? Motion carries.
So the candidate is on the ballot.
Same one as
New York 12-2, again, Ferreria, petition of Villalona.
Same. Commissioners, it's the same clerk's report, different spec.
Move to dismiss. All in favor? Anybody object or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidate remains on the ballot.
It's the same.
No POS, second one, 12-1, POS, no, sir, there was nothing from
Democratic Party, spec New York 14-1, objections by Rodolfo Garcia, petition of Luis Tejada. State Senate, 31st District. Number of signatures submitted, 2,120. Total invalid, 946. Total valid, 1,174. Number of signatures required, 1,000. Appearances, please.
No appearances. Is there a motion to adopt the clerk's report? Is there a second? All in favor? Anyone opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidate is on the ballot. Democratic Party, New York 15-1, objections by Elizabeth Batista, petition of Corey Ortega, State Senator, 31st District. Signatures submitted, 1,495. Total valid signatures, 741. Number of signatures required, 1,000. Appearances, please.
Move the clerk's report.
All in favor? Any objection or abstentions? Motion carries.
Candidate is off the ballot. Democratic Party, New York 19-1 is the spec number. Objections by Carmen Abreu, petition of Melanie Hidalgo, member of State Assembly, 72nd Assembly District. Signatures submitted 1,270. Valid signatures 657. Signatures required 500. Appearances, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
You wish to add anything?
Yes, I'd like to move to invalidate that the specifications.
Are you the objector or the candidate?
I am on behalf of the candidate.
On what basis?
On the basis of lack of service.
We have proof of service.
You're on the clerk's report.
Mr. Diaz, did this Hidalgo sign this?
Yes.
You're on the ballot.
Oh, she's on the ballot.
She's on the ballot.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you very much.
Is there a motion?
All right.
Seconded by Commissioner Costello. abstain? All in favor? Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
The candidate remains on the ballot.
Please thank the Manhattan staff on behalf of the commissioners for the hard work that they do in these proceedings. Thank you.
Senior delegate to the Judicial Convention, Republican Party, 30th AD, candidate failed to file a cover sheet. All of the following failed to file a cover sheet. Republican Party delegate to the Judicial Convention, 30th AD, Manuel Corona. Margaret Agnebetti, 30th AD Judicial Convention. Ryan James Gurdowski, alternate delegate, 30th AD Republican Convention. Charles Veruska, alternate delegate, 30th AD Republican Judicial Convention. And Michael F. Watson, alternate delegate, 30th Judicial Convention Republicans. Commissioners, I ask that you adopt the prima facie
Just
calendar.
a question before we do that. All of those petitions had either more than one volume or more than 10
Yes,
pages?
Commissioner.
Move to adopt the CRU prima facie, legal prima facie report. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidates, legal report is adopted. Mr. Graves has a CRU report.
This commissioners, we're going to begin with the prima facie candidate enrollment issues. And I'm going to move very quickly, so if you hear your name in the public area, please come forth in anticipation of being heard. Beginning with Democratic candidates, Finbar Devine, Charles Weissman, Mohammed Rahman, Charndeep Kalkat, Santak Mahi, Tana Alawa, Swaran Singh, Surinder Shalet, Jaswinder Gotra, Sukhwinder Singh, Sua Singh, Jagmosian Premi, Nebwal Singh, Jagdeep Singh, Nunat Singh, Janit Singh, Olan Om, Melvin Goldberg, Mark Hamitz, Shaman Syed, Krishna P. Dixit, Yuvraj Kaur, Homi Cooper, Leon Morrow, Jerome Stargett, John Butler, Thomas Guevara, Stanley Fistel, Pritpal Walia, Moshe Cohen, Jack Goodman, Roger Baugh, David Wright, Lyle Decay, Harvey Sklar, Yitzhak Cohen, Oscar Aldinga, Howard Stewart, Sidney Cosner, Lawrence Eichen, Willie Faust, Lester Edelman, Vern Katz, Owen Grayson, Kevin Budway, Don Sangeet, Kevin McCabe, Michael Weiss, Joseph Schuster, Richard Lee, Peter Nastasi, Patrick Consola, Austin P. Murphy Jr., Joseph J. Kavanaugh, Raymond Jones, Frank Lawrence, Richard McCoy, David Hardy, Edward Williams, Donald Hobson, Keith J. Lewis, Evans T. Smith, Michael Blake, Leon Collins, Charles Boyd, Willie Jerry, John Wayne, Travis Bruton, Ahmed White, Jerice L. Washington, George Aaron, Mohammed Awo, George Codrington, Burton Wynn, Marcus Morden, Eddie Barnett, Lorenzo Simpson, Magno Zuniga, Jorge Cubas, Mohammed I. Bamla, Stephen M. Endes, Olivia J. Milton, Mac Lena, Anthony Mitchell, Stephen Cumberbatch, J.K. Boltzis, John P. Broderick, John Sapardanas, Lucas Ciartas, Nicholas Bardis, Daniel Fingerman, Daniel Stuckey, Edward Gobalak, James Maggie, Mario Matos, Antonio Ferraro, Matthias Kleinhaus, Chris Landano, Masharaf Hossein, Michael Perez, Mohammed Islam, Carlos Zamora, Minerva Gonzalez, Juan Rodriguez, Thomas Myers, Monza Chowdhury, Calvin Liu, Chung Ha Yu, Rosalind Weissman, Lacey Houston, Kanjit Singh, Prabhatan Kaur, Penny Stern, Mala Sakar, Kashmira Cooper, Cheryl Khan, Justin Fiora Gladwin, Malka Cohen, Norma Parrish, Lee Ellen St. Clair, Patricia McMahon, Evelyn Barron, Beverly Ordonez, Barbara Schalick, Marilyn Schnitzer, Alitza Weinberg, Cynthia Albenga, Sylvia Raskin, Cynthia Zelinsky, April R. Petaway, Elaine Kasner, Nicolina Venuccio,
Elise Jaffe, Vera Schuster, Harriet Diaz, Sylvia Springer, Renee Hill, Deborah E. Carroll, Merrill Johnson, Violet Samuels, Monique Forbes, Beth Strahl, Nancy M. Harnigsfeger, Darcel Elaine, Miriam Malik, Marcia Thompson, Tamika Hogan, Ruth Fisher, Claudia Bethea, Jennifer Gerson, Mary Lewis, Mary Purvis, Thelma Bodden, Lala Howard, Lori Evans, Rosie Allen, Doris Blount, Mary Monpremier, Mary L. Saunders, Virginia Minor, Ethel Mossman, Augustina Pitt, Shirley Paul, Shirley Walker, May Stuckey, Rose Pavone, Carrie Grace Stevens, Hanan Al-Savini, John Davis. Did I skip a page? I apologize. Page 20. Page 25 I skipped.
Diane Pollard.
Diane Pollard, Octavia Burke, Cassandra Whitaker, Claire Speranza, Leela Reddy, Valerie Reed, May Stuckey, Rose Pavone, Carrie Grace Stevens, Hanan Al-Sahini, Jonna Davis, Theophila Tsiartzis, Elizabeth Fitzgerald, Joanne Scafidi, Donna Tamburello, Julie Vasquez, Flor Caballero, Rosa Urena, Josefa Cruz, Carmen Riso, Geraldine Inoa, Joanna Palanco, Jocelyn Vargas, Menhua Chiang, Eileen Gardner, Ada Hawkins. Moving on to Republicans. Philip Ragusa, Conservative, Andrew Sussman, Kathleen M. Early, John R. Mathis, Mary E. Mathis, Edward J. Balfe, James T. Cowan, Basil Wilson, Robert C. Johnson, Yolanda Stiwanello, Jerome Ficor, James Wilmelt, Carol Mango, Robert Sturk, Michael J. Celia, Alfred D. Spara, Jacqueline Spara, Michael J. Finnerty, Working Families candidates, Walter N. Iwachu, Sandy Pope, Independence candidates, Y. Philip Goldfeder, Michael G. Miller, and that concludes the Queens enrollment.
Before we determine if there's any candidates, Mr. Richmond, is the list posted on the wall?
Commissioners, the prima facie calendars for both CIU enrollment issues, CIU prima facie and legal were posted this morning.
Right,
They remain on the
before we do the whole list, can we just deal with Walter Iwachu? I have to recuse myself from that determination. I would ask if there's is he present? Is there a motion to adopt
enrollment issue.
the enrollment issue with respect to Walter Iwachu?
Yes. Second.
All in favor? Anybody oppose or abstain? I abstain.
And they'll be recorded.
I move the rest of the list.
All in favor? Anybody oppose or abstain? Motion carries.
Moving on to the regular CRU prima facie report. I do have an addendum which I passed out. It's a one-pager. It mentions for the working families issue of spec 56-1. Objector Edward J. O'Hare Jr. and candidate Joseph Dabo. Proof of service is a certified mail receipt properly filed but stamped return receipt requested. Earlier today we did give notice approximately noon to the objector and to the candidate's contact person.
Do we have any appearances?
Yes, David L. Bruenberg, 54 Second Street, Troy, New York, on behalf of the objector.
Frank Bowles, 9525 Queens Boulevard, Rego Park, on behalf of the candidate Joseph P. Adabo Jr.
You had, Mr. Graves indicated that this was sent over earlier today. Are you consenting to hear this matter today, or do you want to just postpone it to tomorrow?
No, I would consent that it be heard today.
That's fine with us also.
So we can proceed.
Yes, Commissioners, you have consent from both sides.
I would just like to add that there's actually a more serious problem with the specification of objections that was filed pursuant to the rules, in particular Rule H, H2. The specification of objections is supposed to list the candidate's contact person, the candidate's fax number, the candidate's phone number. This specification of objection does not list it at all. And for that basis alone, because the board, the purpose of the rule is to give notice when the clerk's report is issued so that you would comply with the 24-hour provision, this specification of objection fails on its face. The sample that the board provides makes it very simple for anyone to properly fill it out, and it's not present on this document.
Is it the candidate or the objective, Mr. Wilson?
It is supposed to be the candidate's contact person. You are seeking to throw the candidate off the ballot. So the candidate's contact person should be getting a copy of the clerk's report. And that's what's missing.
Would you like to respond?
Well, I think I heard counsel say that it's difficult to follow the form proposed by this board, so if that's
I
the
did
case-
not say that.
I thought that's what I...
Oh, I did not say that. I said it's easy to follow.
Counsel, perhaps you do me the courtesy of letting me finish.
Well,
and then
don't
respond.
say,
Well,
you are mischaracterizing what I just said.
May I proceed,
Yes,
Commissioner?
proceed, please.
Thank you. I'd also note that under the general objection and the specification of objection, the candidate's full name and address and contact information were set forth. An adequate, and as I understand it, adequate notice was given.
No,
Well, here's
it
my
was not on the
understanding.
general objection either.
Here's the issue, at least before the, it's going to be before the full board. It's my understanding that the chief and deputy had made a recommendation that the spec be not worked on as a result of it being frivolous, and the fact it violated Rule H5, amongst other reasonings. I had concurred with that request, but Commissioner Michelle had not. As such, we're referring it to the full board, and I will move that we dismiss the specifications as not complying with our rules, because our rules say, specifically indicate shall indicate the petition volume number, as the specifications here actually don't. And I would make that motion. I would ask that someone second it. All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye, all right. Anybody opposed? Abstain?
I abstain.
Abstain? Can I have a roll call, Commissioner?
Yes. On Commissioner Arroyo's motion to dismiss spec 56-1, Commissioner Castorino? Commissioner Dent? Commissioner Andino?
Yes.
Commissioner Shamoon?
Yes.
Commissioner Humane?
Abstain respectfully.
Commissioner Costello? Secretary Michelle? Mr. President?
Yes.
Commissioners, on this vote, 5 commissioners in favor, 3 against. The motion is not adopted, not having obtained 6 votes.
And what's the, is there another motion? No? What's the outcome?
It means that at the moment that the spec is still before the board, and that there's a clerk's report will come before us, but it also means there's the other prima facie issues which may be presented now by Mr. Graves. So your motion was to dismiss it, I guess, Commissioner, the spec for failing to comply with Rule H5.
So, I understand your rule, but so from now on, we don't have to put down the candidate's contact person, or the candidate's fax number, or the candidate's phone number. I just find that a little bizarre that that would be the ruling of this board. It's missing on the face of it. There is no contact person. There's no one for you to fax the clerk's report to. So I don't understand even abstaining. But I guess this is what we want to do to knock off a candidate.
Mr. Bowles, isn't the candidate's contact person on the petition cover sheet?
Yes.
So then theoretically, we would know who to send it
Theoretically.
to. Okay.
The problem is, though, our rules indicate specifically that we have to notify certain individuals and provide due notice and for these individuals, and that's not being provided. And as such, the matter was referred to the chief and deputy, and referred over to the commissioners, and there was unfortunately a split on that issue.
I don't even think my issue was brought up. My issue was separate and apart. My issue is that you didn't have the contact person information so that the clerk at the Board of Elections can email a copy based upon the specs. They work with the specs. That's why the rule is in existence, so that they can look at the spec, use that information, fax it off so you comply with the 24-hour rule.
Mr. Richmond, do you have anything to add to that?
And there was also certified mail return receipt requested, not following the rules of the board. It is a more restrictive service when you do return receipt requested. And that was the reason why there was another prima facie that was listed on this spec.
Mr. Richmond, there was an addendum added to this CIU prima facie report. The initial motion made by me with respect to the delegation or the request not to work the petition as a result of the chief and deputy recommendation. However, there is an additional issue that has been raised today with respect to the added requirement of the receipt requested, which I was provided with a copy of.
Commissioners, we have provided with you a copy of the actual copy of this receipt that was filed. On the receipt, you'll see that the Postal Service indicated return receipt requested. An additional fee was also paid for return receipt requested and attached to for the specification. That clearly violates the requirements you've imposed in Rule H9, which, as was cited before, either requires personal service or service by certified mail. I may be taking Commissioner Main's thunder, but the policy rationale behind that for the board to adopt that was to effectuate the rule that the notice would be effective upon mailing, not requiring anyone's signature. We follow that procedure as well when we send non-compliance notices. We waive signature on the express mail. And so that's why we required either certified mail, which would show proof that you actually mailed it. It contains the time showing when you mailed it, because again, the specification is supposed to be served upon the objector before they file, the candidate, before they file it with the board. And that's the rationale we've done it. And we have, in the past, always rejected proof of service, which was done by anything other than just certified mail.
Just a question, did Mr. Dabo, if you know, receive the specs?
I don't know.
Mr.
I was
Kennedy,
retained today.
You're appearing for the candidate. What is your position with respect to adding the extra burden of putting return receipt requested on the mailing?
As far as I know, there's been no showing of actual harm here. Mr. Bowles candidly admits that he doesn't know whether the candidate received it or not. My understanding is he's here. I mean, clearly, notice was given in a proper way.
Well, he may be on other matters.
Well, he seems rather well prepared for this one, too. So I suspect he knew that it was on today. But I believe the procedural objections, such as they are not significant, and that the board should go forward and consider the objections in this case.
Mr. Richmond?
Commissioners, Mr. Denkberg and I were just checking. In the past, this board has historically dismissed a specification that service was not properly filed, including priority mail, express mail, return receipt requested specifically in the past too. We have been very clear, making clear that you do it by certified mail and you provide us with either an appropriate affidavit of personal service or an indication from the Postal Service that you complied with the rules.
I move that we adopt the CIU's prima facie report with respect to the additional issue of the POS as a certified mail receipt properly filed but stamped return receipt requested. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Anyone abstain? Oppose? Motion carries.
Oh,
Are you abstaining? You're abstaining, one abstention.
Is that the only abstention, Commissioner? Okay, so the prima facie report that the proof of service for spec 56-1 failed to comply with the requirements of Rule 8-9 is adopted by a vote of 7 in favor, 1 abstention. Secretary Michelle abstained. Specification is dismissed.
Commissioners, moving on with our CIU prima facie report with the Working Families Party. Candidate Walter Iwachu, member of Assembly 37, no petition filed. Ron Kim, member of the Assembly 40.
As to Commissioner, as to this petition with respect to Walter Iwachu, I will abstain, as there is conflict of interest, so I would move that.
You want to do a separate vote on that one?
Separate vote on that one, please. Is there a motion to adopt?
Yes.
Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody abstain or opposed? Motion carries. Or you can do the rest of the count.
And you're abstaining.
And I'm abstaining.
Ron Kim, Working Families candidate, member of Assembly 40th District. Printer's error letter filed concerning candidate's address.
Can we deal with that one separately? I am seeing a copy of the printer's letter, which indicates that it was their error. Has everyone had an opportunity to review it? I move that we omit this from the CIU Department Financial Report as a result of the submission of the printer's error letter. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Okay, this is removed.
Concerning Working Families candidate James Sanders Jr. and objector Latoya Duncan for specification 57-1. Proof of service is a certificate of mailing, not a certified mail receipt per Rule H9A. Certificate of mailing filed with no objection number violating Rule H11.
Any appearances? Okay, next turn.
Independence Party candidate Y. Philip Goldfeder, member of Assembly 23rd AD, no petition filed. Edward C. Bronstein, member of Assembly 26th AD, printer's error letter filed concerning candidate's address.
Just give me a second to look at that, please. There appears to be a printer's letter submitted indicating there was a printer's error. I move that we remove this from the CIU Department Financial Report and accept the printer's letter. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Independence candidate Michael G. Miller, member of Assembly 38th District, no petition filed. Democratic candidate Long for County Committee, declination deadline July 14th, certificate of declination filed July 22nd, declination filed late. Yes. Well, there are a host of Democratic over-designations. I'm going to read through those quickly for Assembly District, 25th Assembly District, Mira Lopana, Uma Sengupta, Marvin Lowen, Neil Olshan, Leah Weinstock, Jeanette Olshan, May Rudowitz, Helen Prager, Rory Lantzman, and Jack Brand. Next, we have Democratic candidate, Democratic spec number 5-1 and 6-1. Objectors Lisa George and Michael Duval against Everly Brown. Certificate of service filed attached to specification worksheet. Neither contains objection number, violating Rule H11. Proof of service filed as a priority express receipt, not a certified receipt for Rule H9A, and also without objection number, violating Rule H11.
Any appearances?
Moving on, specs 34-1 and 35-1. Against candidate Ian Jones, objectors Lisa George and Michael Duval. Specification cover sheet filed not securely fastened to a volume as per Rule H1. Proof of service violates Rule H11. No objection number on proof of service.
Clyde Vanell, the Vanell Law Firm for the objector, Michael Duval. Address is 219-16 Linden Boulevard, Canberra Heights, New York, 11411.
Anyone here for the candidate?
Emily Brown?
So this is Deanna Jones, or which one are you appearing on? He was, you on the one before?
Yeah, he is. I'm requesting for the board to produce the original proof of service. Is that possible? You have a copy of it? Do you have it?
Yes.
Commissioners, there is attached a certified mail receipt to a so-called certificate of service, which is attached to the first page of what appears to be a spec worksheet. Nowhere on the certificate of service is the objection or specification number listed. What they have listed, it appears, these are the petition numbers, correct? It appears to be petition volume numbers which are not supposed to be attached, or are not required to be included in the certificate of service or under Rule H.
Rule H11.
Do you want to add something?
Yes, Commissioners, under Rule H11, the proof of service is supposed to have either the borough and specification number, or attaching the proof of service to a copy of the first page of the specification. Attached is the first page of the specification.
Commissioner, it's not, because the first page of the specification is supposed to meet the requirements of Rule H1. It says the specification of objections shall state the name and address of the objector and the candidate in public office on the petition to which the objection is addressed. What you have is a worksheet for the first page of actual specs, but it's not the first page of the specification volume in accordance with your rules.
Is any of the information, Commissioner Schumer, is any of the information there?
No.
Yes, there is. On the affidavit.
On that page, it's the first page of the worksheet. It doesn't specify anywhere on here which objection.
The affidavit attached to that has clearly states the candidate, the district number, petition numbers, and the first page of the specification is attached to it. Under Rule H11, it says the first page of the specification. It doesn't say specification cover sheet or what have you, it says the first page of the specification.
No,
So yeah,
the
that is.
idea is to provide the information that would have been found on the cover sheet.
That is attached, well, that's on the affidavit of service.
The purpose of this is to identify which petition is being objected to. And that's why it's necessary to do it. It is here set forth in the affidavit of service.
Yes.
All of the volume numbers.
And the name of the candidate and the district number.
Can we just, we'll recall this one, let's just finish with the rest of the calendar? Or unless you had it right there.
Commissioner, the first page of the spec is a spec, the full spec cover sheet is on the top of the specification of objections. What you have there is the first page of the worksheets attached. You have a specification of objection cover sheet upon which the general objection number is written.
And it has all the contact information.
Right.
This is the second
Yeah, and it's referred, the volume numbers are referred to as specification numbers, not volume numbers.
So the information is misleading or inaccurate.
It's my opinion that it doesn't meet the requirements to set forth in the rules to provide the necessary information.
Now keep in mind that under the regulation 6204.1, all the rules are supposed to substantially comply with the rules. We received a notice from the board on July 24th that states the specification cover sheet was not attached to the specification, citing no rule. Therefore, according to what we attached, the first sheet of the specification was the specification worksheet.
Well, then the specifications are not good, they're not attached to the cover sheet. So you could argue it one way or the other way, but you can't have it both ways.
Well, that's
It's another indication of non-compliance with the rule. The standard for objections, where you're taking somebody off the ballot, are strictly construed, as opposed to trying to keep somebody on the ballot. So if you are looking to use the technicalities of the election law to knock somebody off, the courts have said you have to be particularly careful and do it the right way. Otherwise, candidates stay on the ballot. So the presumption of, quote, little l, liberality that you would have on trying to keep somebody on the ballot is not the same, and it's not the same standard that's used in connection with objections. So I would...
Similar, for objectors Lisa George and Michael Duval, candidate Herbert Binger, specification cover sheet filed not securely fastened to volume as per Rule H1, proof of service violates Rule H11, no objection number on proof of service.
Any appearances?
Next issue in the State Senate 10 for specification 58-1, objector Darren Watkins, candidate Ian Jones. POS is a certificate of mailing, not a certified mail receipt per Rule H9A, and filed with no objection number violating Rule H11.
Any appearances on any of these matters previously called?
And then the last one.
Last issue for specification 18-1, objector Latoya Duncan, candidate James Sanders Jr., specification cover sheet filed not securely fastened to volume as per Rule H1, proof of service is not a certified mail receipt per Rule H9A. It is a service other than by personal delivery document.
Any appearances? There
Any
being none,
appearances on the prima facie?
there being none, I move the CIU prima facie report. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody abstain or opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's call the calendar.
Yes. Queens spec number 4-1, Independence Party, objections of Laura Femina to Tony, petition of Tony Avella for New York State Senate 11th District. 350 signatures submitted, clerk's report 78 invalid, 272 valid, 245 required for the ballot.
Any appearances?
Martin Connor for the candidate.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Anything want to be added by the candidate?
Pardon?
You want to add anything?
No, I think
Anything want to be
clerk's
added by
report.
the objector?
No.
Move the clerk's report. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted, candidate remains on the ballot. Queens Democratic Party, in the matter of the objections by Marcella Testa to the petition of Jessica Ramos for female Assembly District Leader, 39th Assembly District, Part A, spec number 9-1. Clerk's report, 750 signatures submitted, 356 invalid, 394 valid, 500 signatures required to qualify for the ballot. Appearances, please.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Is there anything you want to add?
No.
All right, move the clerk's report. All in favor? Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted, candidate will not appear on the ballot.
Okay, the next one.
Spec number 18-1, I believe these are your group. Commissioners, this was H12? Oh. Commissioner, the spec was dismissed under the CIU calendar. There was also an H12 memo from the commissioner saying that this spec was not supposed to
So
be
dismiss
worked.
as moved. Is there a
I would
second?
dismiss as moved.
All in favor? Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
Spec 18-1 is dismissed as moved. Spec number 32 and 33, George and Duval against Binger. The spec was dismissed prima facie.
Move as
Can you read the clerk's report for the record, please?
Zero.
Zero. Again, this was a determination by the commissioner, by the chief and the deputy, affirmed by the Queens Commissioners that the spec either was frivolous or the objectives did not have standing, and according to the clerk, the specs were not working. Oh, there's also noted, the members too, is also
that the candidate declined, there's no substitution, so as such, the petition died with the failure to substitute. So still dismiss this move, Commissioner.
Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody abstain or opposed? Motion carries.
Specs. 232. Yeah, 232. Okay. Spec 34 and 35. Objections of George and Duval to Gianna Jones. This spec has been dismissed prima facie by the commissioners.
My name is Clive Bonnell, representing the objector. I'd like to read that report for the record.
Clerk's report, 1,034 signatures submitted, 480 invalid, 554 valid.
Thank you.
All right, we'll dismiss this move. So second, all in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Commissioner, spec number 38, Queens Republican Party, objections by Philip Hom to the petition of Philip Jim for member of the New York State Assembly in the 40th District. Clerk's report, 717 signatures submitted, 186 invalid, leaving 531 valid. 305 are required to qualify for the ballot. Appearances?
Frank Bowles, on behalf of the objector.
Anything to add?
No.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidate remains on the ballot. Spec Queens 39, the Republican Party, objections by Marcella Testa to the petition of Jesus Gonzalez for member of the Assembly, 39th AD. 179 signatures submitted. The clerk's report, 57 invalid, 122 valid, 194 are required to qualify for the ballot.
Frank Bowles, on behalf of the objector.
Would you like to add anything?
No.
Move to adopt the clerk's report. Second. All in favor? Anybody abstain or opposed? Motion carries.
Candidate will not appear on the ballot. Spec 41-1, Democratic Party, Queens County, objections of Andy Leane to the petition of Malcolm Smith for New York State Senate 14th District. Clerk's report, 3,426 signatures submitted, 1,840 invalid, leaving 1,586 valid. 1,000 signatures are required to qualify for the ballot.
Arthur Gregg, 401 Broadway, New York, for the candidate.
Frank Bowles, on behalf of the objector.
Do you have anything to add for the candidate?
Move the report.
Do you have anything to add for the objector?
No.
Move the clerk's report. Second. All in favor? Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidate remains on the ballot. Spec 42, Queens Democratic Party, objections of Janet Forte to the petition of Stephanie Constance for female Assembly District Leader, 38th Assembly District, Part B. Clerk's report, 1,702 signatures submitted, 1,167 invalid, 535 remain valid, 500 needed to qualify.
Any appearances?
Frank Bowles, on behalf of the objector.
Do you want to add anything?
No.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidate remains on the ballot. Specs Queens 43 and 62, Republican Party, objections by Mary J. Plunkett to the petitions of Thomas V. Agnebetti, declined candidate, and Michael Cogliaro, substituted candidate, New York State Senate 15th District. 1,172 signatures submitted. The clerk's report, 174 invalid, 998 valid signatures. 1,000 signatures are required to appear on the ballot. Appearances, please.
David L. Gruenberg, 54 2nd Street, Troy, New York, on behalf of the candidate.
Frank Bowles, on behalf of the objector.
Do you have anything to add on behalf of the candidate?
I do. I'd like to hand up an exception report that we prepared. I think I've provided a copy to counsel for the opposition.
Have you received a copy?
I just received it now. I would also like to hand up an exceptions report that I've just provided to council. And I believe I have 10 copies. And I have supporting documentation as to all of the exceptions.
Can we have a team assigned to review these exceptions and report back to us?
And I have an extra 2, so I have a total of 12.
Is that one page or multiple copies of one page?
I would object to exceptions that are being provided by the candidate on the grounds that there's absolutely no documentation that he has complied, that he has provided, and he has not complied with the rules of this board.
Mr. Richmond, can we...
Well, Commissioners, what we have is on the volume number, page number, line number, he says the as stated objections, but then there's a VSN number provided.
So what does that mean?
I don't know what he means
No,
by
well,
that.
I think it's pretty clear that he means that the person was either not registered or not, it was something. And what they've done is, they've identified the voter identification number for either the voter that wasn't known or whatever.
Is it
And I
our
do
practice
think-
to attach certain documentation to the exception report to make it easier for staff to
It
review?
has to be with specificity, so they're giving you the volume number, page number, and line number, and if that's what the VSN number means, that it's actually, that the objection should be NAS and not AS. And these objections all either include a non-enrolled, or several are illegible.
I would just note that in some cases, PR as in print, so the VSN doesn't help with the print.
Well, you
Also
you'll have an
subscribing
opportunity
witness
to sit with the clerks when they go over it,
Thank you.
rather than to argue each line by line with us now.
You want the, Commissioner, this is
I've calmed down a little bit.
No,
This is the objective.
Just provide it to the staff. We'll just reassign it and have second call that.
Thank you.
If I can, you plan to second call it today?
Did you serve the notice of objection with
Can you get it to us?
We're gonna do that now. Let them know we're gonna do that now.
Yeah, they're gonna do that now.
No return receipt.
Council, they're gonna do that now.
They're gonna do it now.
Okay.
Michael, go.
Second call on that one.
Just before that goes to the team that's being assigned, one of the issues, and I don't know whether the board is gonna, whether the team you're assigning can deal with it, but there was same hand, similar handwriting, and I provided the actual buff cards so that you could see 3 people in a row. It was signed by the same person. And normally, the way it was originally written up by the board is they said specifically referred to board. So I don't know if ultimately you're going to need a determination on those issues before the full board.
If those issues arise, we'll segregate them and deal with them as we do.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the next specification that Queens is reported on is Spec Queens 44. Democratic Party, objections by Andy Leane to the petition of Bernadette M. Semple for State Senate, the 14th District. Clerk's report, 3,025 signatures submitted, 1,990 invalid, 1,035 valid, 1,000 required to appear on the ballot. Appearances, please.
Martin, for the candidate, Martin G. Connor.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objectants.
Does the candidate wish to add anything?
No.
Is he objecting?
No.
Move clerk's report. All in favor? Any abstain or opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted, candidate remains on the ballot. Spec 45, Democratic Party Queens, Janet Fiore Forte, objector to the petition of Farouk Samaru for male Assembly District Leader, 38th AD, Part B, 1,702 signatures submitted, 1,167 invalid, 535 valid, 500 required to qualify for the ballot. Appearances, please.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Do you wish to add anything?
No.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Any abstain or opposed? Motion carries.
Candidate remains on the ballot. Spec 47, Queens Democratic Party, objections by Archie Spigna to the petitions of Joan Flowers for female Assembly District Leader, 29th AD Part A, 1,689 signatures submitted, 1,564 found invalid, leaving 125 to be valid, 500 are required to qualify for the ballot. Appearances, please.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Do you wish to add anything?
No.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Any abstain or opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidate will not appear on the ballot. Spec 51 and 64, Conservative Party, Queens County, objections of Laura Femina to the petition of Timothy Fury, who was the candidate who declined, and Ilio Forcina, substituted candidate for member of the New York State Senate 11th District. 62 signatures submitted, 6 invalid, leaving 56 valid signatures. 74 signatures are required to qualify for the ballot.
Frank Bowles, Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Anything to add?
No.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Anybody abstain or object? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidate will not appear on the ballot. Spec 53, Democratic Party, Queens County. Objections by Randolph Titus to the petition of Felicia Johnson for member of the State Assembly, 31st AD.
675 signatures submitted, 520 deemed invalid by the clerks, 155 found valid, 500 required. Candidate referred to the board. The candidate's registration states that she lives in the 23rd Assembly District. She is also running in the 31st Assembly District. See attached report. Appearances.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Do you wish to add anything?
No, the petition itself has an insufficient number of signatures, so I just assume that the clerk's report be moved, and then the petition is no good.
Move the clerk's report. All in favor? Anybody abstaining or opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk's report is adopted as submitted. The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Yes. Spec 54, objections, Republican Party, Gene McLean to Anthony P. Nunziata, New York City Assembly, 30th District. Commissioners, that was dismissed prima facie, and it also appears that you had determined, the Queens Committee determined that it didn't meet the requirements of Rule H12.
Move to dismiss as moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody abstaining or opposed? Motion carries.
Spec 54 is dismissed as moved. Spec 55-1, objections, working families, 56, I'm sorry, 56-1. Edward J. O'Hare, Working Families Party objector, petition of Joseph Adamo, 15th District. Commissioners, you dismissed this spec on part of the prima facie report for failure to comply with the rules, as the amended report today submitted by CIU.
So there is no...
So we should, the report should be dismissed this move.
Motion dismiss the report as moved. All in favor?
Well, anybody want to be heard?
The attorney who is on this is in, on,
Second call, that's it.
Yeah.
Who's the, Mr. Bowles?
Yeah.
You wish to appear on this?
Frank Bowles on behalf of the
Candidate.
candidate.
if this goes to court, they might ask that the clerk report be approved. So we ought to at least give that gentleman the opportunity to come back for a second.
Sorry, Commissioners, I don't have an associate here.
We were considering the clerk's report on spec 56-1, the objections of Mr. O'Hare to Mr. Adamo's petitions on the Working Families Party. The board had dismissed the spec as prima facie defective, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to consider the report. It's finds 24 signatures invalid, 13 valid, and it says 20 other required.
Yeah, so, I love the report.
There's a motion to dismiss, it was seconding.
That's moved.
All in favor?
Well, he said he loved the report. Would that be a request to us to pass on the clerk's report?
It
Or
would,
in the
Commissioner.
event of a
I
court
apologize for speaking
hearing? No,
inartfully
I'm
and
just
not
trying to understand.
it's my Troy, New York roots. I don't know.
The frustration I have with this is that the reason why you dismiss the spec is because of service, because of process, because of due process, because of giving notice. That you didn't have proper notice, and now you're going to adopt the clerk's report, which was supposed to be provided timely to all the parties, and due notice was supposed to be provided.
Mr. Bowles, right now, there's a motion pending before the board to dismiss as moved. It's been made, it's been seconded. We're in the middle of a motion here. Can I have a count? All in favor? Aye? Anybody opposed or abstain?
Opposed.
Can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. On the motion to dismiss spec 56 as moved, Commissioner Castorino?
Opposed.
Commissioner Dent? Commissioner Andino?
Opposed.
Commissioner Shamoon? Commissioner Humane?
Opposed.
Commissioner Gustella? Secretary Michelle?
Four.
President Roger?
Yes.
Commissioners, on this vote, 4 commissioners voting in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. The motion is not agreed to.
Clerk's report is not adopted.
No, that was the motion to dismiss the spec. To dismiss the spec is moved.
Is there a motion to adopt the clerk's report?
The spec is dismissed.
It's already dismissed. Dismissed already.
I guess it was wrong to do that.
Move on to the next one.
You have to dismiss. Your motion to dismiss is moved.
Want to get it done?
And then they say the commissioners never adopted it.
Move to adopt the clerk's report. For a second. All in favor?
What are we doing now? We're going to adopt the clerk's report?
Anybody opposed? I
It's
oppose.
not gonna pass, it's gonna say they didn't adopt it.
Anybody opposed?
Yeah.
Commissioner, we'll do a roll call vote.
It's not gonna do.
On the motion to adopt the clerk's report 56-1, Commissioner Castorino?
Yes.
Commissioner Dent?
You have a twitch, Mr. Richmond?
Commissioner Andino?
Yes.
Commissioner Shamoon?
Yes.
Commissioner Humane?
Yes.
Commissioner Costello? Secretary Michelle? And Commissioner Roger?
No.
Again, on the vote by 4-4, the clerk's report is not adopted.
I'll be in the back room in case you need.
Commissioners, spec number 57, this report is for objections of Latoya Duncan to James Sanders, State Senate 10th District. This spec has been dismissed prima facie. In addition, there was a finding of an H-12 violation, so there is no clerk's report before you. To report any numbers, a motion to dismiss is moved to be in order.
Dismiss is made.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed? Abstained?
Yeah. Spec 58 is Democratic Party Queens. Objections by De'Aaron Watkins, the petition of Gianna Jones, State Senate 10th District. Did we take this out? Oh, that's sort of because the same objective. This candidate, this spec against, one set of specs against this candidate was dismissed. It's this, the commissioner's spec was dismissed, 58-1 was dismissed on the CRU prima facie count. So a motion would be in order to dismiss this move.
Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody opposed or object? Motion carries.
And 60, specs number 61 and 63, Queens Republican Party. Objections of Laura Femina to the petition of Timothy Fleury, candidate declined, and Elio Fucina, substituted candidate, member of the State Senate 11th District. Clerk's report, 788 signatures submitted, 243 invalid, 545 valid, 1,000 signatures are needed for the ballot. Appearances, please.
Frank Bowles on behalf of the objector.
Do you wish to add anything?
No.
Move the clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed or object?
Clerk's report is adopted, the candidates will not appear on the ballot. So, Commissioners, I believe that concludes the Queen's first call. And I don't know what the status of the Bronx is.
The Bronx is ready, the second call on the Bronx is ready, we can do that right
So
now.
the Queen staff, on behalf of all commissioners, I want to thank the public for providing his presentation.
He has his associates here.
Ms. Hill, Commissioners, a copy of the petition volume upon which our name appeared to Parliament and the County Committee has been given to you. The petition contained the address of 2010 Vise Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10460, matching the County Committee schedule, so both appear to be defective, because based on her own testimony, she doesn't live at that address.
Ma'am, have you been provided a copy with the documentation?
Yes, sir, but this is the first time I have been permitted to peruse the petition, and I was not aware of a defective address because nobody presented the petition to me prior to submission.
Well, unfortunately, that petition was circulated on your behalf. So there was a presumption that you had reviewed it prior to it being circulated, and was filed with the board, unfortunately, with the incorrect address. The cover sheet is correct.
That's untrue, I did not peruse it, just for the record.
Did you consent to be a candidate on this petition in the County Committee?
I did not peruse the petition.
Yeah, that's not the question. Did you consent to be a candidate?
No.
So you don't even want to be a candidate?
I want to be a candidate, but nobody approached me personally. I've been a candidate in times past. But in this particular instance, I was not approached.
Commissioners, in order to be a candidate, you're supposed to give your consent. So for now, in addition to not having the correct enrollment address, but her own condition that she didn't consent to be a candidate, I think the prima facie defect should be sustained.
I agree. I'll move to adopt the prima facie finding. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
Candidate will not appear on the ballot for county committee.
I'm sorry for that. Obviously it's not our fault.
But it's not my fault either.
I understand. We're not putting the blame on you.
I feel that I've been penalized for someone else's
Not by
mistake.
us. Not by us.
But you're the one who voted.
Commissioners, we're going to be recalling the deferred Bronx specs based on the revised work of the clerks. I believe copies have been provided to you and copies have been provided to the representatives of the candidates. We're going to call Bronx revised spec number 76. The objections by Ms. Justo to the petition of Elliot Quinones for the State Senate 32nd District. Clerk's report, 4,743 signatures submitted, 3,809 found invalid, 934 are found valid, 1,000 are required. Referred to the board are objections of 21 similar handwritings and 249 forgeries. Appearances.
Neil Grimaldi for the candidate.
We have William Moore.
That's a different case.
That should be.
Well, can I humbly ask a question?
Could you wait till the commissioners?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Commissioners, you now have a 76-1? Yes. Appearances, please.
Neil Grimaldi, I gave my appearance in
For the candidate.
For Mr. Quinones, yeah.
Mr. Grimaldi, the clerk's report shows that the candidate is short several dozen signatures, 66 signatures.
Okay, now we understand that, and actually I'm very happy about it. But the fact of the matter is, how did it get to the point where he was on and then got off? How did that happen? Just as a historical thing, because I'm writing a book about this Board of Elections here.
So the question before you is whether or not you have an exception list to provide to us so we can review where we made errors.
No, I'm very happy you're throwing him off. So I'm going along with the clerk's report.
Okay, so move to adopt the clerk's report.
I'm Quinones.
All in favor?
I know this gentleman a long time, but please stay away from me.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidate will not appear on the ballot.
I get another issue. Can I make another issue on behalf of...
We're not finished with the calendar.
Okay, fine, excuse me.
The revised clerk's report in the matter of specifications number Bronx 82, 84, and 85. Democratic Party, the objections by Ms. Justo to the petitions of William R. Moore et al. For member of the Assembly et al. In the 85th Assembly District. Clerk's report, 2,035 signatures submitted, 1,120 invalid, leaving 915 valid. 500 are required to appear on the ballot. Referred to the board are objections of 341 alleged forgeries and 30 similar handwritings. Appearances, please.
Yeah, Mr. Garth Marchand, for the objector.
Was there another appearance for the objector?
For the candidates.
Was there another appearance before?
Mr. Slime was here, but I think, I don't know.
But didn't he have an associate here?
He does have an associate here.
Mr. Klein just wants the clerk's report.
Well, I have several problems, and I heard learned counsel, Mr. Richmond. By the way, Mr. Richmond was my classmate, and I was his president in his class, so we go back from Brooklyn College days. So, he's a very honorable man.
Mr. Marchand, do you have anything to add with respect to
Yes,
the clerk's report?
I'm going to bring it up. I'll just raise a point. Number one, the candidate according to rule number H12 is not qualified because there's no registered person by the name of Justo in the Board of Elections records, and you could check it. Number two, the general objections were late and the specifications were filed late. This is a document filed by Mr. Slime that was served on the Board of Elections, which states that the petitions were filed by Mr. Moore on July 8, 2014. and then they go to state in this petition, which is a court document served on the board, that says that pursuant to the election law of the state of New York and the petition rules promulgated by the Board of Elections in the city of New York for designating petition for the Democratic primary election to be held on September 9, 2014, the last day to file general objections to the aforesaid petition was within 3 days of the filing of the above said designated petition, and the named petitioners duly filed general and specific objections on or before said date. 3 days after July 8th is July 11th, the Friday.
We understand that.
They filed it on Monday, the 14th, so it's late, even on their own records.
I understand your point. Mr. Richmond or Mr. Graves, could you explain?
Commissioners, two things. For your first, the most dispositive is that the candidate, Mr. Moore, received a notice of noncompliance, and one of the page numbering volumes that was submitted, he had the opportunity to claim. And they subsequently, I believe, claimed that filed on the 14th, the general objections follow that. The rule provides that whenever the last part of the petition or document is filed. In addition, there was an additional, another opportunity to claim, I'm sorry, for the page numbering defect, which was on his original cover sheet. In addition, a notice of claim went out, which they didn't claim, to a volume filed on the last night to file. It was the Rivera-Powell problem. That's why we adopted Rule G1, saying that we'll determine the circumstances. But when they filed their original petition, candidate Moore and his colleagues did not include any exclusivity language on the petition, and therefore they were both given an opportunity to claim. But even though they never claimed it, and under our rules, it still would be a timely general objection. Most importantly, in a volume that they did claim and they seek to continue to claim, they filed the corrected page numbering materials on the afternoon of July 14th. The general objection was filed after the filing of that part of the petition volume, therefore resetting the clock, and then the specification was timely filed 6 days thereafter on the following Monday.
Mr. Marshall, do you understand what
No,
I understand what you're
and I'm saying that
the time
there is
periods
no,
were extended?
right, no, hold on here. Here's where the disagreement comes in. We did not file an amended cover sheet. It was not a problem. There was a problem with pagination. When the pagination is corrected, that doesn't change when you file that petition. It doesn't extend the time. It's a pagination issue. So we never filed any additional petitions.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
But the general rule is.
What general rule?
The
Show
time
me.
period runs from the last part of the petition that's filed. Now, it
Where's
could
in
be
the rule?
cover sheet.
Where's in the
or
rule?
it could be part of the petition if an extra volume is claimed or if there's.
An extra volume was not claimed.
Okay.
This is not, an extra volume was not filed. This volume was filed on the regular day. Show me in the rules, and Mr. Richmond can't show me in the rule where it says that. The petitions were filed, and all we did was make a correction. It didn't change the time when we filed the petition. That original petition was on the record as being filed. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Can I say this?
Respectfully refer you to section G1 in the second sentence. The last day for filing general objections shall be 3 days after the latest date on which any part of such petition or cover sheet was filed, even if said petition or cover sheet is subsequently not claimed by the candidates appearing thereon.
But we didn't do that. Here's where Mr. Richmond mixed it up. There was the petition you just dealt with. Mr. Quinones filed a petition on our behalf. We never claimed it. See, he filed it on the last day. So that's why they went and the board notified the other side that we filed a petition on the last day. But guess what? We never claimed them. So therefore, if we didn't claim them, Mr. Richmond sent out a letter to me stating that it's like deemed not filed. If it's deemed not filed, you can't extend the time. That was where the problem existed. Mr. Quinones, volume number BX 1400310. That's where the problem existed.
No, Mr. Goshan, it's not. The notice gave it to you was for Bronx number 1400228. which is claimed on your cover sheet. The notice went to you as the contact person on July 9th, advising you that your petition volume, which you claimed on the original cover sheet, failed to comply with the requirement that the petitions be sequentially numbered at the foot of each page. And attached to that was the list of candidates covered: Mr. Moore, Ms. Price, Mr. Delgado, Ms. Robinson, Mr. Jones, and the delegates and alternates. And you made a timely cure.
Here is a letter from Mr. Richmond. It says,
That's a different volume.
failure to file a cover sheet or amended cover sheet claiming such volume will result in the Board of Elections removing the volumes from any consideration of any matter.
That's a different volume number.
It's a different issue.
But they...
Sir, the last piece, which was your cure, which was the filing, maybe I'm missing it, but it sounds like that the...
Where's Mr. Brown? He's still here? I'll give you an example, because I'm also the contact person from Mr. Everly Brown. He just got a letter. Hold on, wait a minute. So let me show you why this rule would not apply. I got a letter on Mr. Brown's candidacy, right? And it says that there's a pagination problem. He just got that pagination issue and he corrected it when? Yesterday. Does that mean then that those petitions, because he corrected just like we did, that it extended the time when they could file a spec next week?
Yes, it's 3 days from yesterday, starts the clock for the generals.
That doesn't, logically that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make legal sense. It doesn't make legal sense. An opportunity to fix something doesn't mean that the petitions won't file on a specific date. It doesn't extend the time. The statute doesn't move. Show me in the law, in the book. He can't show me. Statute does not move.
Say it doesn't make legal sense, it doesn't make common sense. If you can't file an objection to something that's incomplete, that's the purpose of Rule G1.
No, it wasn't incomplete. You know what, sir? It wasn't complete. All of the pages were even on the line by line. If we didn't do anything and didn't correct, it wouldn't throw out the entire petitions. We didn't file a new petition. We just corrected one page. It doesn't extend the time. Come on, let's be realistic.
But it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You haven't shown. No, I'm going to. All right. If we finished with the argument. No, wait a minute. The last argument. On service. The service. And I heard Mr. Richmond threw something out before, and you can't change this now because he went on record. The service was done by priority mail, and I got the proof. Priority mail. It wasn't done by certified mail, as Mr. Richmond says. Now you can't change that, Mr. Richmond.
We're going to get the proof.
Here it is. Here it is. Priority mail. I got the mail dropped into my mailbox. Certified mail, you have to sign for it.
No, sir.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Return receipt requested.
No, it's not return receipt.
That's why you don't sign.
It's intentionally done that way.
Yes, you do. No, it's not that. It's not that. The post office person delivers that card.
There's no green card. That's registered return receipt.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Return receipt.
No, that's not.
And we threw somebody off a few minutes ago because they served objection by return receipt requested. And it's not return receipt. Well, tell me anybody that anybody knows. Tell me anybody that anybody knows. Can you certify a priority mail? No, you can't. According to the post office, you cannot send. I'm not arguing with you whether.
They sent it by overnight.
But we have here the certified.
You know what? You know what? Here's the tracking record. It don't lie. It says here by priority mail 1 day service. That's what it says. And the tracking number, it says it right there. And it went from Bronx to Bronx to Bronx to Bethesda, New York to Bethesda, New York, and back to New York. Tracking record says that by priority mail. Not certified. Priority mail, that's the record of the post office. So if you telling me, and I got it, the package, I got the package in a priority mail.
Just 1 second. You got it. Hold on. Mr. Richmond.
Commissioner, there are two proofs of service here filed, clearly identified general objections, 82, 84, and 85. One, a certified mail receipt with only postage and certified fee paid, going to William Moore as the public office candidate. It has to go to the public office candidate. And a second one to the same three objections to Mr. Marchand, and the address that was on his cover sheet, under the name under his cover sheet, on behalf of the party positions, which requires under Rule H9B, it goes to the contact person, or first name person, clean on vacancy. The certificate, the certified mail receipts meet the requirements of our Rule H9.
Okay, Mr. Marchand, I think the last objection to the service of the specifications of objection fails because they did it.
You're gonna do what you're gonna do. You're gonna do, all right, and what about?
You're in a very unusual
No, hold on, and what about?
Your candidate is on.
I understand, but I want it knocked out because they're gonna go to court, right? So now, what about the objector not being registered on the record? Check the Board of Elections record, please. There's no justo registered there. So if she doesn't have any
I
standing,
don't disagree with you if that's the case. but
so could they check it?
That was searched.
Could they check it?
Yes, it was checked.
Justo. No justo. She put on the objection form.
Maybe it's another name before Justo.
It doesn't matter. She's not just like how you did name changes recently. She's registered under the Board of Elections as Munoz. And when you go to the Board of Elections record,
It's Munoz Justo.
no, not according to the board record.
Well, that's what this says.
You have a registration card? Here. See there, last name Munoz. Here's the Board of Elections record. Yeah, we'll get it back, they give it back. And look at the registration record, it says Munoz, not no Justo.
Yeah, Munoz dash Justo.
No, look at the registration list.
Well, I'm not the registration. This is actually a copy of a Board of Election record produced on July 14th for the New York State Board of Registration registration application of, maybe I'm mispronouncing the first name, Yana I. Nunez Justo at 1805 Bruckner 3E. That's also a mailing address.
Where you see Justin here? And look at that, read the official.
Or the objection? Is that the name of the objector, Munoz Justo? That's what it says on this.
No,
That's the
no,
name of the- and
no.
that's what the board record shows.
No.
And it's right here on the list, Munoz Justo. Right on the printout from the board's list.
All right, look at the last name on the record here. What's the last name on it?
Munoz Justo.
No, last name. It's on the M.
Justo.
Munoz. Munoz is the last name.
It's right here, Mr. Marchand. The record you handed up is correct.
It's like Moore-Sean. The last name is
So-
defined in both days.
All right, and then one more objection because you gotta. I noticed the board does this. Yeah, he gave him the. I noticed the board does that. Huh? No, I noticed. Wait a minute, hold on. I noticed the board. That's a point. You don't have to adopt it. That's a point. Is that the board takes off signatures, and in our report is about 100 signatures that were taken off by alterations because the person at the bottom cross out cross out Bronx County and put New York County. Thank you. And you cannot. The only way you throw out signatures is unless it's
Where on the clerk's report do you find this? There's only alteration of date of
alterations.
57.
50. All right, 57.
Do you have a list?
57.
Marchand, of the proposed errors?
57.
Do you have a list of those?
On the alteration for the subscribing witness when there's none.
But you need
57.
If you have an exception, you need to give us the
Page number and all that
page
stuff.
number, line number, and volume number.
All right. That was just a point. But from now on, what you need to do, and I've seen it throughout, what you need to do is instruct your clerk that if there's no alteration in the date or the signature, it doesn't throw out the signatures. And they've been doing that. And in this case, they have. I don't have the specifics.
Case law on offices, and there's a lot of technicalities, and you know that.
But the election law is very clear.
The unusual circumstance of having your candidate stay on the ballot.
Yes.
I think you
So,
a valiant attempt, and I think you should.
With that, I'll move the clerk report. I learned from the best. Move the clerk's report.
That's the Bronx, right?
Yes, the Bronx. I'm not.
Once the law is adopted, the candidate is on the ballot.
Thank you.
Commissioners, that concludes the Bronx calendar.
No, 1 second.
We're waiting up for the second call.
Mr. Richmond. The Honorable Mr. Richmond, I have a question on the Bronx matter, please. I was waiting.
Could we ask you to act as the cover sheet review committee for the matter you did on Friday? Mr. Brown's revised petition, there was a page numbering defect. He submitted a cure yesterday. The team reviewed the page and is now correctly numbered. We're recommending it's a valid cure.
Mr. Richmond, before we do that, Mr. Grimaldi has something.
I'll wait, now, Mr. Richmond, Richmond goes first before Grimaldi.
No, I think she goes.
I know, but not here, we understand that. He's so charming and lovely, I love watching him in operation. If I was gay, I'd go for him. Anyhow. Oh, I got a chance to talk, oh, thank you very much. I'm a little shy sometimes. Anyhow, so I have a case of Ms. Quinones here. Palomino. What happened was the specs sent to her are different than the specs that was submitted to the board, and the distinguished gentleman here from the Bronx took a witness to that fact. I was trying to get a ruling that the specs are different and it should be thrown out because the specs are different. The specs that was sent to the board do not conform to the specs that was sent to the candidate. She's on, but I was hoping to get a ruling.
She's not on. She's off.
No. Palomino is on. Look at her. She's definitely on. Why is I'm representing her? I don't know, but this is a real on candidate. Some of my candidates are quite questionable. Like you guys.
But we want this, I mean... Unless you want to make a motion to reconsider, technically there's nothing before you. Is there anybody else here?
Is this in court, Mr. Grimaldi?
What?
Is this proceeding in court?
It will be going to court.
No, has it been commenced? Because the
It has been commenced.
It has been?
Yeah, it has been commenced against her. If you want us to wait, we'll wait. Second.
There's no motion.
What we would need to do is,
Gotta give notice to the other side.
Give notice to the other side, if you wish to record.
You can't just record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It doesn't really matter.
So Mr. Brown correctly cured by you, 193, which is the page number 18.
Oh, okay. Pursuant to Rule J5, I, Commissioner Michelle, will be designating a subcommittee to finish out the rest of the Queens calendar. That subcommittee will consist of myself, on behalf of the Queens Democrats, Commissioner Julie Dent on behalf of the Brooklyn Democrats, and Maria Bustella. On the Republican side, it will be Commissioner Michelle, Commissioner Shamoon, and Commissioner Rendino. I'm sorry, Castorino, I apologize, Castorino. And that will consist of the subcommittee. All right? No.
you'll go.
We're reconvening the subcommittee with respect to the Queens continuation of the calendar. Can I have the commissioners to the left introduce themselves?
Ron Castorina, Richmond County Republican.
Simon Schuman, Kings Republican.
Michelle Queens Republic.
Jose Roger, Queens Democrat.
Julie Dent, Brooklyn Democrat.
Marie Costello, Richmond Democrat.
Mr. President, Queen specs number 43 and 62. Republican Party objections by Mary Plunkett to the petition of Agna Benny as the declined candidate and Canaglaro as a substitute candidate, State Senate 15th District. Both the candidate and the objector submitted exception reports in accordance with the board's rules. You directed the Queen's clerks to review those exception reports and report back whatever findings they have. I believe the Queen's staff is prepared to at least report what the findings are. I also believe they're prepared to ask that refer additional items to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Pataki,
Can we have the candidate, the representatives for the candidate and objector come up?
All right, Commissioners, we reviewed the both sides, their specifications, that they objected to our specs, and we found 7 to be taken off the clerk's report. So the new number should be invalid of 181, and the total valid should be 991. And we have 34 to refer to the board for you guys, to the commissioners to review.
Could you please, for the commission's benefit and everybody else, can you summarize what those 34 signatures you're looking for guidance on or ruling?
Well, some are that there's two people with the same, we couldn't figure out the signature at the house, at the residence that they gave us, and there was 2 registered voters there.
Same name.
With some, yeah, same
Or
name.
first and last name.
With different parties?
Different parties, yes.
And how many of those of the 34 do you know?
Yeah, it was 16.
There were 16 that
Similar names.
same name, same name, with the same address, but one in the Democratic Party and one in the Republican.
So those aren't with similar handwriting or based on allegation of fraud?
No, they're not.
While you were doing this line by line with both, were representatives from both parties present?
Yes.
Balance of these signatures, you gotta categorize them. 16 of the 34 are those with the same name or address.
Those are 18 of them are similar handwriting.
Commissioners, the board's policy is traditionally been that if it is not obvious to the clerks or to you, just by the comparison of the signature on file with us and the petition, the board usually declines to rule on similar handwriting allegations or forgeries or fraud allegations. And that's why, for example, if you look on the clerk's report, similar handwriting is listed as an objection not ruled upon by the board for lack of jurisdiction.
However, I believe our rule H8 says, in the rare case when an objector seeks to obtain a ruling from the board on an issue of fraud or a factual issue which cannot be determined from the document already filed, we will consider it. I'm not sure if that's the case today.
I would just like to state in this particular case, it was specifically referred to board. It was not indicated no jurisdiction. This is not a claim of forgery. This is a claim of similar handwriting of individuals that are registered at the same address, at the same household. And I have provided the signature scribes so that it could be reviewed by the clerks. The clerks chose not to review them at all, and instead, because it said referred to board, we're now before the board with those similar handwritings.
May I just be heard, just in response to counsel, by using the term referring it to the board, that doesn't mean that we waive any jurisdictional objection that the board had. My understanding was that we were directed, because we'd each filed competing exceptions to the clerk's report, to go in, go through our respective objections or exceptions with the clerks, come back and report to you, and that's what we're doing. So we're certainly not waiving any jurisdictional issues that might be before the board, where the board might want to just decline. And I would echo what counsel has said. I don't think it's a fraud. I don't think there's any allegation of fraud here. What it is you have a person's name there are two people perhaps of the same name at the same address, one's a Republican, one's a Democrat, who signed it. Well, I'm going to argue that the person who signed it is the person who said, I'm an enrolled Republican and I endorse this candidate. So,
That's not my issue. My issue is totally different, which is, it's clear that a husband signed for a wife in the same household, and when you look at the registration cards, their signatures are totally different. And those are the ones that I'm seeking to have invalidated. Those are the ones that I've provided the evidence with my exceptions to the clerk's report.
and
Commissioners, again, you would traditionally put yourselves in the role that an inspector would on election day, where they're comparing the signature of a voter who appears before the voter and with the signature on file and make a judgment whether or not they should challenge them or not. The commissioners are not deemed handwriting experts, but you can make judgments from the records of the board if it's clear to you.
Which is what we're hopefully going to be doing today. If there's no objection, we would have them deal with the 16 first, where you have indicated that there are similar names residing in the same address, however affiliated with different parties. Is that right with Phil?
Yeah, I would just ask so that we, for both counsel here, that when something, on my exceptions, I provided copies for everyone. With regard to his exceptions, there's a printout that's been made by the board. I would just ask, as each one is presented to the board, that I just have an opportunity to take a look.
Absolutely.
Steve, on the 16, how do we normally, when it's two names? When there's two people living at the same address?
Commissioner, you would, the only ability you have is to produce both voter registration cards, take a look at the signature on the petition and see if it's obvious to the naked eye as to which one it is.
But if it's not obvious,
Commissioners, unless one of you have got the skills that I'm not aware of that you can certify as a handwriting expert, I don't believe you have the ability to make a finding of fact.
so that happens with one of these 18.
Well, again, if you look at them and if it's obvious to you, then it's clear. If not, you may not be able to make a ruling.
I think the first one that you're going to do, that I'm looking at right now, which my adversary is seeking to rehabilitate the signature, is James P. Shea, and it's James D. Shea, and it's very clear the way James P. Shea makes his J and the way James D. Shea makes his J. It's going to jump right at you. So I think some of them are going to be very easy to move forward, but I'm sure there'll be others where the board will decide that it's inconclusive.
Commissioners, to assist, I would ask your permission to let the representative of the chief and the deputy go up to you with the documents that they made copies of together with the petition so that you as commissioners can make a judgment.
Absolutely. Can we have someone keeping tally with respect to the rulings? Individual rulings?
So bring the documents you need. And, maybe we can make room right between the commissioners there. The other commissioners, if it's easier, maybe we'll, maybe because you'll be asked to look. Mr. President, too, that'll be our place if the council bring it off so that you leave my advice and guidance.
I'm still a little confused.
Commissioner, again, if
I'm a
it's
little confused because how am I looking at it?
Commissioner, you're using the same standards that the poll workers would do when they would look at a signature on election day. Does it appear that this is the person who signs the registration form?
Yeah.
And if it's not clear to you, nobody's asking you to make a ruling.
If the above card has M. Michelle, or Michael Michelle, and now it's a signature M. Michelle. The M looks like, and this one doesn't, then we could be up here for...
No, what we're happening, you're going to be seeing two names. You're going to be seeing two Michelles in your household. Presumably, your father and son. And so the question is going to be, the father, is it his signature? Or the son, is it his signature? So you're going to be comparing two.
Yeah, but.
And when you look at the first one-
But if we're not handwriting experts, how are we gonna rule on it? If somebody is 30 years, they signed a buff card, and now it's different.
Right now, what you're gonna be distinguishing, James D. Shea and James P. Shea. James D. Shea is a Democrat, James P. Shea is a Republican. They both live at the same address. You're gonna look at the two, and you're gonna see, at least on this one, it's gonna jump out at you as far as, oh yeah, it looks like James D. Shea, that's clearly his signature.
Right, but if I start looking at them here and going back and forth, I could be here for.
Well, right now, James D. Shea and James P. Shea is exactly what my adversary needs you to rule on.
Well, let me just be.
Because right now,
What about 16, universal 16, same name and address?
right now, the clerks would not give him credit for a Republican at that address.
If I may be heard just briefly as you undertake this process, of course, I really share with the commissioner the concern that I would have in this situation of trying to become an expert in handwriting. I don't think it's anywhere near as clear as counsel would suggest. I'd also suggest to the board that anybody who's ever circulated or signed petitions knows that they get signed on the knee, they get signed on somebody's back, they get signed on the door. You know, it's not your pristine signature as what you do when you go down to the Board of Elections and register, so.
Right, but we're not making a determination as experts, we're making a determination based on common sense.
Right now,
Well,
if I join in with counsel and agree with him, then nothing changes. Right now, you're the one that needs them to look at handwriting to get 16 signatures.
No.
I don't need it.
Excuse me, what I'm arguing.
What I'm saying is that.
What team wants what?
We're trying
to figure out our
If the 16.
But if the argument is you can't look at this, then we're done.
No, that's
I'm
not
saying
true.
the 16 signatures is if it's a Republican or a Democrat, who is that? If the signatures, say the signatures don't look like either one of them, who would you say it is?
Neither
Say
one.
it.
It's inconclusive.
How could that be?
It's inconclusive.
Because the rules
Our
are, no, the rules are, isn't it, they're registered. No, they're registered, you must assume if the address is the same, the name is and everything, and you're taking the person who signed the petition, the witness, and on the top of the petition, it says, I am a registered Republican, and I'm signing my name. Now, I signed my name completely different, and you have a Democrat and a Republican in the House, and both signatures don't look like it.
Well,
What would you rule?
that would be our point, Your Honor.
I'm
Sorry.
No, but I'm saying, what would you
I see a
rule?
group of people, I'm reflexive.
Steve, what would you?
Commissioner, again, where you can, only if it's obvious to you that you can identify the signature, either give credit or not give credit. We've done that as a practice in the past, looking at the evidence that you have in the board's records, which would be the registration records, together with a petition that was filed with the board.
I just had an opportunity just briefly to look at the first one. And in my opinion, looking at the first one, line 5, James Shea, compared to the registration for a James D. Shea, Democrat, appears to be similar in the sense that when you compare it to the Republican one, the J, the P, and the S are all completely different, the handwriting is completely different. That to me is obvious. I mean, I think that all commissioners actually take a look at that will, as the candidate or the objector had indicated, it is obvious in that situation. So we're not running in a position where we're making a determination based as an expert. Right.
Steve, if there's only one voter at a location, and we don't see the two voters, does the board as a standard policy ever look at the signature? Are we only looking at the signature in this situation because there's two
Depends
people?
what the objection is. If the objection is it's an illegible signature, then we do try to look at it to see if we can count it or not. We're trying, we're in the business of trying to rule independently on each and every objection. If the allegation is that it's a fraudulent signature, we usually don't even look at it.
But is that the allegation? Is that what I'm hearing?
What's the, Mr.
It's
Pataki,
not
what's the?
registered, not registered is the allegation.
Right, if the allegation is not registered and you have a signed petition by, or a signed petition by an individual registered at that address,
But if he's registered for
and it's
Democrat,
legible, that was our,
well, that's the thing, right? We make a determination whether or not the person is registered as a Democrat or a Republican. If he's registered as a Democrat, it'll be as stated by the board. right, if that was the initial determination. Not handwriting evidence, yes, looking at their actual voter registration, but making a determination based on common sense.
Well, because if there's two people with the same name.
Not that complicated.
Then we can overcome them by saying, it's not, the person's not registered. And if they're doing it based on whatever basis they think that the person who signed the petition is not an enrolled member of the party. But here you have evidence to say it could be either way. If there's only one registration, then that'd be very hard. We do have an exception of whether clerks is more than clerks define who.
Yes, it goes into court because the candidate is not equal to the date of the receipt. Except, we have an application right now to do line by line. So we do one line and we adopt the budget. We have to do something. You're gonna get a split. Which is what we don't realize. Why we on those? Our clerk said, similar handwriting. They're referring to the board. Right, but they no. They could not.
Can we answer your, what are the objections?
one that's obvious to me. Yes.
But the objection is not signature, the objection is not registered, and there is somebody registered as a Republican at that address. Period. Who's also a Democrat at that. Correct, but the Republican signed it, I'm not looking at the signature. It's a Republican signature. You didn't look at the petition signature. No, there is no. The Republican signed it, there's two there, one is them, one is them. I would think so.
And I said this one didn't match up with
They didn't argue.
the other,
That's why.
he said this referred to the commissioner. He wanted to refer over the commissioner.
No, it's not registered. They're saying that it's a registered, they're saying that it's a registered, not registered, but when they look up, there is a registered Republican and there's a registered Republican and a Democrat. So we must assume that because the Republican signed it, because the person that signed it says right here, so we swear that they're a Republican. Because we identified that there's a Republican.
If I could just be heard, just one slight point.
I'm presuming because.
Your clerks originally said they upheld my objection, saying not registered.
But then they didn't score it for us.
That-
But then they didn't give us
They,
the
no,
credit.
they said as stated,
If you look
that
at
the
that-
person was not registered.
If you look at the clerk's, if you look at the objection, there was one that was there and there was one erased. And not as stated was erased, which I'm not stating. So
Right,
somebody took it away.
as stated,
So
exactly.
it went through two sets of clerks, one
Right.
ruled it as stated, one ruled it not
No.
as stated, and then they took it away.
And it
No, they
said
didn't.
not enrolled Dem.
And they,
That's
and
what
they,
the clerk found.
and they have the serial number. So I just want to make one thing clear. There was a finding by the Queen's Board that this person was a Democrat who signed the petition.
No, I don't.
If you look at the specification of objections, you look,
The commissions are looking right now. What page, get the right page number, and the line number.
Well, you found it as a written.
It's not enrolled. It's not enrolled. They circled the objection that was upheld, which was NE, which is not enrolled, and they put the number of that registered voter, and they erased NAS, and they put AS. And then one further thing, he's looking to bring the signature back. The bottom says he has 5 valid signatures, so it wasn't even scored right. He's got 5 valid signatures, so I don't see what he's restoring with this objection.
We've conceded that that was an incorrect scoring, as they scored it on their own internal document. Yes. I'd ask also, if we're going to proceed with this, that there are 2 distinguished election law counsel here, and I'd ask that...
Were you provided with the new numbers after you reviewed the clerks just now?
No.
Did you agree
Yeah,
on
we-
the 991?
Yeah,
Yes.
up to that point, and everything else was
You agree
referred
on
to
the
the
nine?
board.
Yes, that's my understanding also.
So, they agree on that? We have, they agree on the 991. Right.
Then you're going by signatures, which we are not signature experts.
But
We're not
at the
doing.
same time...
Except, Commissioner,
But
2
we're not,
things.
but,
Number
but
one,
is, but the presumption is that it's a.
Unless it's obvious
on its face. Right, but we don't just rule on signatures.
except in this, Commissioner Michelle, on the first one that we're looking at right now, all 5 signatures were scored as valid. Look at the sheet.
No, we're talking about the,
No, no, but the point
talking
you're
about
making, Mike, the point you're
the
making
whole,
is.
right. I'm talking about the whole process of looking. If we don't rule on signatures, now we're gonna rule on some signatures, we're not gonna rule on some because we're not handwriting it. It's one way or the other, and to me, I go by the thing without the signatures.
I think what the board could do, now that we've gone through the buff cards and so forth, we have 16 challenged signatures, which previously were, in the previous report of the board, were deleted as not registered. And what we have found as we went through, and what you'll have there is an enrolled voter at that address with a signature. And I think once you get to that point, which I think you've got the documentation for, at that point, I think those are you've got an enrolled Republican voter at that address.
You're saying you don't go any
You don't go any
once you
further,
get to that
right,
point.
and but that was the whole point I thought of going into the back room, was to collate for you those, that paperwork to show you that there were
Right,
enrolled.
that's what I'm saying.
The
Yeah,
clerks,
in other words, excuse me.
The clerks look at signatures every single day. When I put down ILLS, and there's 4
But they're putting it
people,
right,
when I
they're
put,
putting ineligible. They're
and
putting
when
down
I
not
put
registered.
ILLS,
They put down not registered.
What-
Right.
no, they don't.
The question is.
Commissioner, my point is, the board pulls up every single scribe to figure out who scribbled their signature. And when they match a scribble to a scribble,
Here is a situation where the objection is that there is this person enrolled in.
Not eligible to find a position.
No, well, now you have the finding that there is such a person at that address, and now it's almost like.
Now you gotta find something
Now
else why he's
it's
not
like
there.
Now,
going
who
into the
is
bottom
it
of the
really
ninth
that
after you have a lead.
Right.
No, we never said not
no,
registered.
you have 2 names that are identical.
The presumption is that it's valid unless you're able to produce documentary evidence within the board's possession, right? And show that the person listed on this petition that's being registered is not registered. That's clear.
No, not
from-
enrolled.
Not enrolled, I'm sorry. That's clear from what's already been provided. So they're coming in now telling us this is why this person should not be listed.
It's clear if you look at the signature.
Absolutely.
If you
Which is
don't
what
look
we
at the
do anyway.
signature, I know, but if you don't look at the signature, you just look at whether or not there's a person with that name enrolled at that address, then the question is, why are we taking it a step further?
It's a standard operating procedure to look at the board's records when the objection is made that the person's not enrolled. There's numerous ways to do it. If the signature is illegible, you punch in the address, you try to find something, you look at the first letter, if it's an S and an R at that address, see what names to try to match. Because again, once we're on notice to begin to inspect the petition and the contents, if it's material that's in the board's record, we take on the obligation to review it. If it's material outside the board's record, that burden shifts to the objector to produce those records.
We just can't turn a blind eye once we've looked at his signature and it's obvious to us that this is a Democrat as opposed to a Republican who's signing this Republican petition.
But the problem is, how do you get to that question? It's obvious.
When we're doing our due diligence, that's when the issue comes up.
It's almost by implication. The argument is it's not enrolled and gets to find the Democrat that's with the same name. And here you have a unique relatively unique, same name, same address.
Different parties.
So, you take it as the person signed it, swearing that they are a member of the Republican
Unless,
Party.
And now you have
you're right,
now you have
unless
an
someone comes
affirmation
in.
with a government documentation of the objection, which carries the same presumptive weight that it's invalid. That's why they look to the board as a neutral party to make the determination.
Then I said, and I'll stay.
So who are we to say to fight their battle? There's nothing.
They're both agreeing on the amended question.
You're agreeing on me?
We don't agree on the net number because we believe when you go through,
Oh, yeah.
right, I mean, we're not agreeing
on
that,
the
yes,
report that
Otherwise you won't be
the
standing
numbers
there.
When these in dispute.
correct.
Oh, okay.
Did I not make that clear?
No, but you're agreeing with the number, with the new numbers that the board came up with. You just have other ones that need to be referred,
Yeah, that's my understanding is
but
they,
putting those to the side.
correct, we
You
still
don't
haven't,
disagree that, what is it,
991.
right, without these 34 that we're asking you to review,
34, so he's not saying.
except,
He's saying 991, that's what they agreed in there, but there's
except,
34 in
what
dispute.
we're saying is the 16 where they're trying to argue, gee, that isn't his signature, that is his signature, this, that, or the other. I guess I'd agree with what one of
Well,
the
there's-
gentlemen said here.
But there's two, excuse me, I'm sorry, there's 16 that are two people living in the house, and there's 18 or whatever
Yeah.
with similar handwriting. So there's really a ruling on two sets.
Right.
Right. So, you know, that means there's 34 signatures we're gonna rule on because of signatures. And I'm saying is that.
Are you guys gonna rule on those signatures? Because if not, then
Right, we're not wasting, right. I'm not gonna rule on, I'm not ruling on signatures.
I don't think we can rule on similar handwriting. I think we can rule on the other.
Which, but that's why we started with the 16 first. Because the 16 first on similar handwritings.
Right. If, I mean, and then, of course, that's before we even look at it. And once we look at it.
So, let me-
determine that we're not able to.
So you're gonna turn a blind eye to two forgeries that are clear forgeries on the page.
My person might have signed and not
Yeah.
realized that they were signing a Republican petition.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's a forgery. I don't necessarily think it's a forgery.
Well, when you're signing someone else's name, that is considered forgery.
They sign their own name on those.
No, I'm talking about three people in a household.
Oh, not the one
You're not
that's
talking about
around.
He's talking about the other, he's talking about the other 18, and one person, my wife is cooking, can't get to the door.
Right, right. The wife was cooking and the son was down in the basement as well.
I'm not,
So there was three
Yeah. I
in
mean,
one
that's,
household
I'm not
that,
gonna rule on,
that was
like a
clear as
similar
day.
handwriting, I'm not ruling on it, just like I don't believe I should rule on it.
You know, if what is good for the geese is good for the gander, the goose is for the gander, I mean, at some point, you have a clerk's report now at 991. I believe we're in court on this anyway. And there's something to be said.
There's something to be said about not using it. You can't go to, I mean, it's go to court without moving in a clerk's report. It just creates more ambiguity and more work for the board. You know, I understand.
I mean, I think
I've had an opportunity to review the first document provided to me, and I'm ready to rule on it. I'm not sure if the other commissioners are.
No, I would like to make a motion that we do not rule on any signatures that are before us, the 34 signatures.
Based on,
I'm not a handwriting expert.
is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody abstain or oppose? I oppose.
Want a roll call?
Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Michelle, your motion is to not rule on what referred to.
Right, the 34 signatures.
Motion to. Okay, Commissioner Castorino?
For the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Dent? Commissioner Sherman? Commissioner Costello? For Secretary Michelle?
What?
Are you for your motion?
Yes, I'm for.
That's what I said first.
Mr. President,
If I'm gonna propose, he's gotta vote for it too.
Commissioners, on this vote, the committee is evenly split by a vote of 3 in favor, 3 against. The motion to not rule on the referred to board, the amended clerk's report is not agreed to on spec 43 and 62.
Based on that motion, I would move that we adopt the amended clerk's report as worked on by our staff this afternoon. Is there a second? All in favor? Anybody oppose or abstain?
Oppose.
We have a roll call.
To adopt, the President votes to adopt the amended clerk's report in spec 43 and 62. Commissioner Castorino?
Oppose.
Commissioner Dent? Commissioner Shamoon? Commissioner Costello?
Wait, I'm sorry. I wanted the report in, I'm sorry.
So
It's
that's
been
a
long
yes.
day. Yes.
Okay. Secretary Michelle? Mr. President?
Yes.
Commissioners, on this voting as well, the committee is split 3-3, the motion is not agreed to, the clerk's report is not adopted. Yeah, so there's no action on the specification as of the moment, the candidate remains on the ballot.
On behalf of the commission, I'd like to thank the police staff for hard work.
Very hard.
It is appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Commissioners, we adjourn until 1 p.m. tomorrow for the vote.
So adjourned.